Does an angel contemplate my fate? Or do they know the places where we go when we're growing old? 'Cause I've been told that salvation lets their wings unfold. So when I'm lying in my bed, thoughts running through my head, and I feel that love is dead. In your cars, on the buses, I'm loving angels instead. Everybody, and through it all. Forsake me, I'm loving angels instead. When I'm feeling weak and my pain walks down a one-way street, I look above.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles that go the distance for your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 10:02, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. On deadline day, Liverpool have beaten Chelsea to the signing of young French centre-back Jeremy Jacquet. Here's talkSPORT's Ben Jacobs.
Chelsea were there in conversations. They were prepared to match the fee as well. In an ideal world, they wanted Jacquet in January, but were also prepared to do the deal during the summer. But Liverpool pushed. They got the player buy-in.
Liverpool have a pre-agreement for £55 million plus 5 in add-ons, allowing Jacquet to stay at Rennes till the summer. Elsewhere, we've heard Ricardo Pepi to Fulham is off, but Fulham will try again for the PSV striker in the summer. It also looks like Cameron Archer's move from Southampton to Rangers is not going to happen, but keep an eye on Arsenal. They could make a late move for a midfielder following Mikel Merino's suspected broken foot. All the latest at talksport.com, and Mr. Deadline Day himself, Jim White, is up next with a special show. Slaven Bilic is a contender for the Blackburn job. That's if it becomes available. Valerian Ismail's fighting to stay on after a winless run of 9 games. And we're being told to expect another England cricket reset following this month's T20 World Cup. Steve Harmison says Harry Brooks' position as white ball captain needs looking at with a calm head, as well as McCullum's job.
The conditions of where the England cricket team evolved from, that comes from the coach. And unfortunately, with the Ashes debacle, I don't really want to see Brendan McCullum go because I think he's been positive for English cricket. But he, unfortunately, set the tone.
Harry Brooks says he lied about a New Zealand nightclub incident ahead of the Ashes to protect his teammates. And move over, Phil Taylor. Luke Humphrey says Luke Littler is the greatest darts player to ever live. Littler's picked up his 4th major on the bounce, beating Humphreys at the World Masters in Milton Keynes. More on all this at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
A tax lawyer has told us the CPS should look into whether Peter Mandelson could face criminal charges over his links to Jeffrey Epstein, and an additional 500 primary schools in England will join a free breakfast club programme from April. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit, your go-to destination for quality tyres from great brands like Continental. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
A cloudy day with outbreaks of light rain and drizzle for most of us. That rain heavier in the northeast, turning breezy.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, and we are live in talkSPORT. So as they fight back to take a point against Manchester City, how on earth did Spurs go from lambs to the slaughter to equals? Meantime, what a difference a week makes. Have Arsenal emphatically shelved the bottling narrative? Also today, we'll keep you posted on deadline day. Are players now spreading conspiracy theories? Will Keith Andrews do something Thomas Frank couldn't do? Take Brentford into Europe? Was the Australian Open passing of the baton? And the Rosinha reset, a positive or a negative? It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement.
Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
So it's transfer deadline day. Good morning, everybody. It's a day that Simon loves, Martin. He lives for this day. Martin Keown, Arsenal Invincible, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
You have been on my telly. I've been seeing you a great deal. I've been listening to you. You've been a busy boy.
Yeah, I've missed a couple of shows and I've come back after a special request, as you know, from that Arsenal bank with fans out there. Apparently Manny Petit sounded very similar to me, but just a French accent last week.
Absolutely.
Manfully stood in. A friend of mine had a very good friend from school had lost his mother, so I was at a funeral the week before that.
Oh, yeah.
I've had a busy weekend, Jim. I watched Oliver in the West End on Friday evening, Shaftesbury Avenue. I would really highly recommend it.
Lovely.
It was a very good show. One of my favourites, by the way, Oliver. Got to pick a pocket or two.
Very much so. I loved that. I enjoyed that.
So I assume we'll be reviewing the situation this morning.
Oh, there you go. Now,
you're going to be Fagin.
As for you, I believe you've been having trouble with potholes.
Yeah.
What more can you tell us? Bit of breaking news.
The state of this country. No, I flew back from Spain last night, picked up my car, drove home, and then drove over a pothole in Epsom somewhere, blew my tyre out, and then stood on the side of the road with the car, the recovery firm saying it's going to be 4 hours to pick me up, but it wasn't. It was an hour and a half.
Right.
So I manfully got home about 12:30, 1:45 this morning.
Excellent.
As opposed to 3 o'clock, which might have been the situation surrounding. This is the state of this country. The roads are in such a state that the country is in decay.
Oh dear. Nothing to do with your driving.
No. Nothing to do with my driving.
No.
A big bloody pothole that you
Is it the low-profile tyres that you've got? Yeah, that's an issue.
Yeah. The thing is, it's a Skoda, isn't it? And when it hits the pothole, the axle can go. I mean, you run the risk, don't you?
Yeah, as opposed to that little blue car that you drive. With a little orange sticker in the front.
Oh, yeah. I feel for the poor individual who turned up
He was
a
super guy.
Was he?
It's part of the package that goes with the car, but it's AA branded. And the guy that turned up was an Italian guy. He was absolutely super guy.
Brilliant.
Super fun.
Well done. He's still trying to recover from the experience, I'm quite sure. Well, it is transfer deadline day, Simon. This is a day that you used to tell me when I was at Sky that you thoroughly despise. But so much can happen, and there's a whole bunch going on. Simon's favourite player, Jørgen Strand Larsen, has completed a medical with Crystal Palace ahead of completing what would be a £48 million move from Wolves. He can't be that much of a donkey, Mr. Jordan.
I don't think he's a good player. No. I mean, but ultimately, if Crystal Palace do, then that's the £48 million that they've spent. I would imagine the Mateta deal will go through.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine them spending money that they haven't already recouped.
Sure.
And we'll see. I mean, other clubs wanted to buy him. I wasn't alone in that assessment in terms of not thinking he's a particularly good player, but I would have wagered you that I probably would have not felt much about Mateta. Mateta had a streaky run of form where Glasner got him going. Prior to Glasner, he couldn't hit a cow's backside with a banjo, you know.
Does that go away, though, from the Steve Parish prudent housekeeping to pay all this money for a striker that we've really hardly... I mean, I looked last night on Y-Scout. It's a package that you can look at as, okay, so maybe the scouts are looking at this as well. I could only find 4 clips of him from the whole of this season because he's really not really featured.
Well, they were... I mean, ultimately, I think Forest were trying to buy him in the summer for 60 million quid and Wolves turned it down. Yeah. Sean Derry, who was my captain at Palace, has been talking to... I forget who he was talking to, but he was obviously at Wolves with Gary O'Neill and was saying this boy has everything he does in the training field has the makings of a very good player. What I've seen him do is very little.
Looking at the points that Palace have...
He's a centre forward, they're rare, aren't they?
Just looking at the table, Jim, to see that Palace are definitely slipping into that problem. They've only 9 points from the last 33 available.
Right.
So they are really in trouble, and they do need to do something in the transfer market. But whether this is the right move, why don't they just keep Mateta there, or is it
because he wants to leave?
Well, because that's a fallout of allowing SA to go. And
well, I think it's a fallout of the manager, probably. But the player, Palace, in fairness to Parish and his little cohorts, they didn't have any much choice in it. The player came out and publicly said, I want to leave.
But what authority does the manager now have when he says he's going? I mean, is it one of those where...
Well, he has authority.
Look at their results since he mentioned it.
But he has authority. It's about how he utilises it, because players are still going to play for their careers. They're still going to play for the club. And ultimately, well, the bigger question is, what is the challenge when you're buying players like a £50 million footballer and loading him into a dressing room with a manager that's not going to be there any longer?
Yeah, that's right. But maybe it doesn't matter what you spend if the manager's not going to stay. We had this with David Moyes when he said he was going to leave West Ham. Suddenly, all of a sudden, no one's really listening to him.
Well, the only question would be, as you quite rightly point out, Palace don't spend money. And they certainly don't spend money to back their managers. So the prudency of the situation can't be anything other than they've considered all the options and must feel there's a necessity to buy the centre-forwards. Because I can tell you something, if they were buying centre-forwards in the summer and buying centre-halves in the summer, they might not have had the problems they have with Glasner.
If you'd been at Palace today, Simon, might you have been tempted to say to Mateta, no, hang on you've got a contract here, you're staying till the summer?
Well, it depends upon all the circumstances, doesn't it? I mean, there might be a situation that Palace were quite comfortable in selling him. It might not externally look like they should be, but they might be quite comfortable, and they might recognise the fact that the player's really punched above his weight, like Chris Wood did last year, and you'll not see Chris Wood scoring another 20-goal season. And so they're capitalising on the fact that his currency is quite high, or simply the fallout of Glasner. And it was always going to be a fallout, because unless Palace gave Glasner exactly what he wanted, and even then there wasn't a guarantee, Palace could have turned around to Glasner and said to him, right, here's the money for Eze, here's another £100 million on top, and then a big club could come knocking on the door in a year's time, and he'd have gone. So they were in a difficult position.
Yeah.
So they're trying to buy a player that Forest won, because Forest are only 3 points behind them.
Forest
they tried to in the summer. I assume they still want him now.
Well, I think Forest were in for Mateta, ironically, last week.
Yeah, they bid 35 million, not going to get him. A whole bunch of things going on. We'll stay across the lot for you this morning, and then I'll be back this evening with Alex Crook and Danny Murphy, and we'll take you through the deadline itself. 7 p.m. I remember when it was 11 o'clock, of course, and it seemed like a hell of a long day. 7 o'clock tonight, the deadline. It is transfer deadline day. We'll keep you updated with all the developments throughout the day. And as I say, myself, Crook and Murphy will be back, and we'll take you through the 7 p.m. deadline. Before that, a lot to get through with Simon, myself, and Arsenal Invincible, Martin Keown. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
It will be an underwhelming Premier League title.
It won't be.
I think it will be.
For Arsenal. If they win the title for the first time in 22
they won't care.
years, they will not
No,
care.
they won't care. But everyone else will.
Done. Well, yeah, last year he was giving Liverpool stick for the way they went about.
I've been proved right when you look at them this year.
They still won the league.
It wasn't a great Premier League
but
last year.
They still won the league.
Liverpool can't. That Liverpool team. That's what I said at the time. It was in March. We're at the Cheltenham Festival. I got a lot of stick from Liverpool fans, but I stand by it. You can't talk about the Liverpool team that won the league last year in the same breath as Manchester City's treble winners, United's treble winners, Jose's Chelsea, Arsenal's invincible.
But it was the first season in their development. It's like this season for Arsenal. This is the first season that they're going to put some silverware on the board. So you don't just automatically put them into a bracket with some of the greatest teams that have ever graced the Premier League. That happens over a longer period of time. It may well be that after that, they had to rejig. They surprised themselves by winning the title last year. They had to rejig. They had to rebuild for the future. It may be that they come again.
Whereas it's a different story with Arsenal. They've been building up to this moment. And I think that's why Gabby says, not to their fans, but maybe to the rest of us, if they are only going to score 69 goals, you've said, maybe it is a little bit underwhelming. And I love Theo Walcott, but I can't believe he even asked the question on television would this Arsenal team beat the United team of 2008? Absolutely no chance.
It is a little odd, though, having come close 2 seasons ago with an attacking approach. Good morning, everybody. It's the day, isn't it? Monday, February the 2nd, transfer deadline day. We pile on towards a 7 p.m. deadline tonight. Danny Murphy, myself and Alex Crook will be back. In the meantime, before we head back in Simon and Martin Keown's direction, let's get the latest as to who is going where this Monday morning. And it's the first good morning from me to Ben Jacobs. Ben.
A very good morning. It is busy indeed. Let's just start with one done deal because it was an exclusive that we broke earlier, Jim, and that's Brian Gruder moving from Brighton and Hove Albion to Leipzig on a loan to get more game time as he bids to try and make Germany's selection. That's now being confirmed by the club. In terms of other breaking news, Axel Disasi has been given permission to do a medical at West Ham United. That is going to be a loan, but interestingly, Chelsea changing their perspective on deadline day from a permanent exit to sanctioning something more temporary, and that's allowed the deal to go through. So we expect that one to be completed. Mamadou Sarr from Strasbourg back to Chelsea, and then David Datro Fofana being loaned to Strasbourg because Emmanuel Emega, the Chelsea-bound striker over the summer, picked up an injury in training. So a little bit of loan movement. And then it's worth pointing out as well, Mikel Merino injured. There's nothing in suggestions that Arsenal are going to go crazy and try and sign Sandro Tonali, but they are in initial discussions that are going to have to move quite fast with Hearts for the Scottish striker James Wilson. He's only 18 years of age, and we might see a loan between now and the close of the window.
Excellent, Ben. We shall return to you throughout the morning. Of course, Rangers and Celtic in for some players this morning as well. Martin O'Neill expected to do some business, of course, in his second spell in interim charge at Celtic. Danny Rowe trying to get some business done at Rangers. Hearts have done some business, and Ben mentioned the player there from Hearts. We shall see what these three do come the deadline itself later today. Sir Rod Stewart's been in touch saying that he's been furious Celtic haven't got anybody over the line really thus far, and might well call in tonight while we're on. So we'll watch that with interest. In the meantime, what did we see over the weekend? I'll tell you what we saw. A whole bunch of things. Tottenham Hotspur fought back from 2 down to take a point against title-chasing Manchester City. But how on earth did Spurs go from lambs to the slaughter to equals after a first half like that? It really was a game of 2 halves, as Thomas Frank verified.
I think we did still some okay things first half, and we just make 2 mistakes. And they, by the way, punished the first one so hard after 12 minutes, which just makes it more difficult to come into a football game. But what I liked of second half was we were even more aggressive in the high pressure. And finally, the 50-50s landed a little bit more for us. It feels like everything landed for them first half. Middle pressure good, so not too much through us. And then we played more behind them and hurt them more in that way. And then how united the fans and the players were second half That's what we need to build. The fans helped us massively and pushed us towards a big point, and they were fantastic against Dortmund. So can we do that more and more consistent together? We can create some magic.
I mean, the change was dramatic, Martin, wasn't it? From Tottenham Hotspur in the first half to the second half.
There would have been a lot of Arsenal fans switching off thinking same old Spurs, because you're looking for, let's be fair, if you're an Arsenal fan, you're looking for Spurs to do Arsenal a favour. And Man City were just rampant in that first half. But, I don't think we should take enough, we don't say enough about it. For those people who I was just interested in listening to Sky, people saying the system doesn't matter. Yes, it does. So when they change their system to a 4-3-3, they're playing 5 at the back. They are much more competitive, a completely different Spurs team. Who rarely do we see them come back, Jim, in a situation like that. And Thomas Frank was literally hanging onto his job. We've seen the performance against Dortmund where it was a change of direction and it looked like they were on their way back. And I don't think the faithful could have took it anymore, could take any more of this disappointment. So credit Spurs for coming back. Solanke scores a couple of incredible goals.
Yeah.
Simon as well. Simon looked really good.
He did. He was busy. Can they build on it?
Definitely. I think they can. I think, I was going quite big on Thomas Frank when that point was made. I still believe in him. I think it's a cultural change. It's very difficult for him. I think there's a period where the fans now, they've kind of run out of patience as a club. They want change and they want trophies. I know they got one of those last year. I think they need to be patient with him, and I'm pretty certain, Jim, eventually. But what he can't do, a club like that, is play a back 5. Certainly when he's at Brentford, he flip-flopped between the two systems. There's a way that the Spurs fan expects to play, and you saw that in the second half, Jim. Totally different outfit.
In the stadium, Simon, we're always going about this new state-of-the-art stadium, which it is. Of course it is. They have NFL there. They have concerts there. They have boxing there. Been there. I saw Eubank Ben first time around. Is Tottenham's state-of-the-art stadium, Simon, now home to one of the worst atmospheres in the Premier League? It was so quiet in that first half.
I mean, I don't know. I don't go around comparing the different toxicities of different stadiums. But what you've got is the latest victim of the intolerance of football fans about things being built. Previously, the blame culture was for Daniel Levy, and then he can take that consequence because he won very little over his 25-year tenure. And the latest recipient of the lack of tolerance for something that needs time to be built is Thomas Frank. So they can't blame Daniel Levy anymore. They're seeing the new board spend money, but they want to blame them, but they're not quite ready to blame Joe Lewis and his gang or the kids of Joe Lewis. So now it's Thomas Frank. And Thomas Frank is going to be given no time to adjust the culture of Tottenham Hotspur, no time to build a team, and be on the receiving end of people's disdain and contempt and boos and so on and so forth. And that's the modern day football fan, and that's what you've got.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's right or wrong is a debate. Whether he should have been hanging on to his job. Now, you're not playing West Ham as you were previously a couple of weeks ago. You're playing Manchester City. Manchester City are going after the title. Whether they can do it or not, I doubt, because I think Arsenal solidified their position by smashing Leeds, as I thought they might do at the beginning of the week when Emmanuel was in last week. So when you're talking about Tottenham getting outplayed by Man City, is that a major crime then? It's a major crime to be beaten at home by Manchester. I know that the major crimes are the previous results, but take things in isolation. You've just beaten Eintracht Frankfurt in Germany. You've just beaten up Borussia Dortmund, and you were beating them up before their player got sent off anyway. So you've put in 2 really good performances. You got yourself back in the game against Burnley, who, by the way, despite the fact they're second in the bottom of the league, are not mugs and have taken points off Liverpool and other teams around them, and yet you still want to go after this manager because you're 2-0 down at home to Man City, who've just gone and bought 2 of the best players in the Premier League.
I think they were right to go after him. I think they were right to go after him because the manner of the performance was such that it was inept. It was an inept performance, and basically the platform for that was given by the manager. Now he's a big. I've been a big fan. But something happened at half time and he made a change. He made a switch. And it may well have saved his job.
That's what managers are paid to do. And that's, with Liam Senior, West Ham, who are a poor side, were demolishing Chelsea 2-0.
Yeah.
And the manager made a change at half time. And out they come. And they win the game 3-2. Tottenham came back against a Man City side that in the first half they didn't put a performance in that the fans would have liked. But the default setting, I'm afraid, in my view, shouldn't be to be toxic.
Slightly different nuance. They've got a major game coming up against Arsenal on Wednesday evening. They were in Naples running their nuts off until the wee small hours of Wednesday night. So I thought I could understand the changes he made, but maybe he made too many.
Here's the thing, and I want to get into this. Rodri. What was he on about? Now, there have been complaints around Solanke's first goal where the striker made contact with Guéhi when scoring, but VAR cleared the goal after a lengthy check. So is it one thing for fans to be conspiracy theorists when it spreads to managers and players? Do we have a problem? Have a listen to Rodri post-match.
It's one game and another game and another game, and it's not possible. And honestly, I never speak about referees. I respect their job massively, but they have to pay attention to these things. He kicked the leg, it's so clear. It's so clear. He anticipated the leg of Mark, and it's a clear foul. So, but it's not today. It's just 2-3 games in a row, and I don't know why. Honestly, I know we won too much, and the people they don't want us to win. But the referee has to be neutral. And for me, honestly, it's not fair. It's not fair because we work so hard in these situations now to make these decisions that you have to move on, of course, but you need to come back. But at the end, when everything is finished, you are frustrated because it's so clear, the foul.
Now,
He should be fine for that. He should be fine for that. He should be pulled up by the FA because he's called the referee lacking neutrality. So he's questioning the referee's impartiality in the same way that his manager condescendingly said last week that the referee's made his name. A referee that the managers have regularly turned around and said, why do you have to go to the monitor and back down to VAR? So a referee goes to the monitor, doesn't back down to VAR, and he gets insulted by Pep Guardiola.
But you said that was Pep's fuel last week.
But don't make it right.
Is this Rodri's fuel?
Well, no, it's seeded in by the manager. So now
Roger's saying people don't want us to win, but the referee has to be neutral.
Nobody cares whether Man City wins or not. The only people that care that Man City wins or not are the team that's playing them on that weekend and their own fans. Nobody sits in studios caring whether Man City win or lose, and certainly not referees, I think. I think the bottom line is Guardiola has started this culture. He's got his hand up his captain's backside and throwing his voice through his mouth.
Well, this was, the thing was, this was the story last week, wasn't it, Jim? So if you're Pep and you come out and you attack the media about going to Newcastle and the tackles.
Oh, yeah.
Deflect.
So obviously when the player then, a week later, is still spouting the same sermon, then don't be surprised.
I mean, Simon says it should be hammered here, Rodri. Do you agree? Should be hammered.
He questioned the referee's impartiality.
People don't want us to win.
I think it's a legacy of the manager.
Referee has to be neutral. So the inference, obviously, is the referee's not neutral.
But that's an internal belief. It shouldn't make that an external statement.
So I'll ask you again, Martin, should it be hammered?
I think they're probably, well, look, I don't have to go. I'm not going after a Man City player, and to be...
Why not?
Whatever happens.
What he said was...
I think it's poor. It's poor what he's done. And I think really, internally, we should expect it to happen because Pep did it the week before.
Listen to him. Look, a year ago, his manager was whining about the amount of fixtures. Out comes his captain. I think that we should go on strike because we're playing too many games. Right?
He's right on that.
Out comes his Cadbury's parrot a year later. He's turned around and said the referees are not neutral. Out comes the Cadbury's parrot saying everybody's against us. It's nonsense.
Yeah.
Didn't it used to be the orthodoxy? Didn't we have to listen to the orthodoxy? That was the big teams get all the good decisions. Now all of a sudden, the big teams are the victims of the big decisions. No, I mean, make your narrative.
Did you do this obviously when you played?
Rodri's gone too far. Rodri's gone too far, but I actually feel I do have some sympathy there because if I'm Guéhi and I get my leg between the ball and my opponent, but I do feel actually I stand with it as well. Either way, I'd have gone with it because he pokes the ball.
But that's fine. That's fine.
Incident. Look at what Rodri's saying. It's not. Get into what he's saying, Martin. People don't want us to win. The referee has to be neutral.
Yeah, but that I say is something to be said internally because you do think the world is against you. But you can't say that publicly.
So he should be sanctioned. He should be fined by the FA and brought up on things. Good.
Probably will be.
Good. And so should his manager.
Did you ever buy into any conspiracy theory when you were a player, Martin?
Do you know what, Jim? Every team at the end of the season will look at maybe a half a dozen decisions. I mean, there was a handball potentially for Arsenal against Forest where the ball was cupped by an opponent. It looked like a handball. The ball came off a Manchester United player last weekend. No one was ready to listen to it. But you thought, hold on, I thought you couldn't score a goal if the ball hit any part of your arm. So you move on because the performance wasn't good enough. The bigger picture, and the same for Rodri. Do you know, at the end of the day, Jim, the way that they capitulated in the second half, they didn't look like champions. For the first time this season, I'm looking at it and thinking, hold on a minute. This is a Man City team that normally would just go on an incredible run winning game after game. That's not happening for City right now.
When you talk about people wanting Man City to lose, the more that crap that you hear, the more people will be in that camp of starting to dislike Manchester City, not just because they dominated English football and fair play to them because they were brilliant for it, because they have the luxury, when a transfer window comes around, they go buy the best 2 players in the division, the best centre-half and one of the best players, and they still complain about adversity.
That might be their motivation.
Of course it is.
The world's against us.
It's their fuel.
You wouldn't be hearing Rodri like this if City had won at Tottenham yesterday.
No, not at all.
You wouldn't be.
No, of course.
Be on the bus and gone with the 3 points.
Yeah, but they're making excuses a little bit, aren't they? Maybe Ferguson used to do this, didn't he? It was always the referee. It was never the team. Look, because you don't want to take away the confidence too much. You don't want to take away the belief.
Well, let's put that out there this morning. Manchester City fans, you had Martin there saying, I picked you up, I think, rightly here, Martin. Manchester City at one stage yesterday did not look like champions. What do you think of that? And on Rodri, and I'll put this out in general, I mean, is it one thing for fans to be conspiracy theorists, but when it spreads to managers and players, do we have a problem here? Has Rodri caused a bit of a problem here? Certainly has for himself, you would like to think, hasn't he? 03717 223344 at 10:30.
The only problem I have with him, he done it again on the weekend against Arsenal. He played a pass to Mbeumo, and he was at fault for a poor pass. And he's thrown his arms up at Mbeumo, and Mbeumo's actually giving him some back of like, come on, as a player, you don't like players throwing your arms.
Why is that wrong? That happens all the time, doesn't it?
But as a player, having played it at the game, anybody throws your arms up at you, you always have, you don't like it. Ask any players playing now, you don't like it. That's what he let himself down at. Garnacho copied him.
Don't compare Garnacho to Bruno Fernandes.
I'm saying he copied him, I'm not comparing him. I'm saying he copied. It's not a good example when you're throwing your arms up at your teammates. What he does on the pitch, his performances, outstanding.
That because he's from a different culture, from a different sort of upbringing, and
it's a Portuguese mentality,
demeanour. He has, if you look at Jose Mourinho and the way he conducts himself, it's different to the way that Michael Carrick conducts himself because they're brought up in different cultures. And if you're going to have the World League, which
who else do you see do it?
Loads of players do it. Go watch Spanish football.
No, in the Premier League.
Yeah, but that's the point, Sam. I spend a lot of time in Portugal, as you know, and they are that sort of mentality. They are an expressive population. So I think that's why it stands
does
out.
It quite a lot, doesn't he? He gets the
but also just
up in the air.
Graham Souness is going back to a different world, really. I don't want to say prehistoric views, but they don't make captains now like they did in his day. I've got a list of Premier League captains here. I bet you can't tell me who the captain of Fulham and Manchester City is. You were looking at my screen. Tell me who the captain of Manchester City is officially.
Manchester City is Bernardo Silva.
Yeah, but is he? He's not an old school Roy Keane.
He's another one who's quite
John
demonstrative,
Terry
similar
captain.
sort of thing, which shows you that it might well be a Portuguese.
Who's the captain of Fulham?
Fulham.
When you think about famous F1 circuits, the likes of Silverstone, Monza, Monaco come to mind. One of these is not like the others, though. Monaco is just one of a number of street circuits on the calendar, and that number's only set to rise. There's a clear difference between a traditional circuit and a street circuit. One is a purpose-built facility on private land, the other is, as it sounds, a race through the streets of a major city. Monaco is the famous example, twisting and turning through the streets of the Principality with iconic backgrounds and, let's be honest, not a lot of overtaking. But from 2026, there'll be a record 10 street circuits on the calendar. It proves that cash remains king. Each track promoter gives F1 between $20 and $60 million just for the rights to host an F1 race. And when Saudi Arabia pays upwards of $100 million, you can see why it's an attractive prospect for the sport. But is it all positive? Well, the drivers aren't that bothered. If you ask a majority of them, they'll tell you historic circuits at Silverstone, Spa, Monza, Zandvoort, they're the favourites. For the sports organisers, though, it kind of makes sense. In 2025, Monaco had a record 2.3 million strong viewership in the US alone. Meanwhile, for the British Grand Prix several weeks later, 1.5 million tuned in. So while these races may not be rip-roaring, all-out action, thrill rides we want as race fans, people are tuning in even more, and bosses can demand even more cash.
Good morning, everybody. Monday, February the 2nd. It's Jim White, it's Simon Jordan, and it's Arsenal Invincible, Martin Keown, and we are live in talkSPORT on this transfer deadline day. We heard from Ben Jacobs a short time ago. Ben will be back, and Alex will be with me and Danny Murphy tonight, live in talkSPORT. We take you through the deadline at 7 o'clock and then beyond with all the action. There's plenty of business going on. Strand Larsen's completed his medical with Palace ahead of completing a £48 million move from Wolves. We'll get back to that shortly. At this particular time, we're stuck on Manchester City. Martin Keown saying for the first time this morning, as far as I heard it, they're not looking like champions at this particular time. Paul's a big Man City fan. He has called 03717 223344. Paul, good morning. Do you still think you do look like champions?
No, and we haven't done for probably 18 months or so. The reason why we're still in the title chase is because, fortunately for us, Arsenal have dropped points. And I think it was Jeff that was saying this morning that he thinks Arsenal will win it because nobody around them is any good, and he's absolutely nailed it. We've been terrible for, I can't recall how long now, probably post-treble, actually. I know we won the fourth title in a row, but even that season we weren't particularly great. It was just Arsenal's collapse. The style of football's gone. Some of the players are way off it. And second half, since for as long as I can remember, we might as well not bother.
What do you think of Rodri's comments, Paul? And I want to put you in the spot with that. And a whole host of Man City fans are calling in. He says, amongst other things, I know we won too much and people don't want us to win, but the referee has to be neutral. What's he on about there, Paul?
So his comments, I think, he probably should have kept it to himself, like you've all said this morning. However, if you look at some of the decisions that we've had recently, they're absolutely scandalous. I mean, the one at United, the Dalot challenge, the handball against Wolves, when you see the one that Chelsea got the following day against Palace, I think a lot of it is in relation to the inconsistency and the frustration, and they're then becoming quite critical moments for us, particularly the one yesterday, obviously, with the Solanke goal and then the incident at United. And it's easy to say, oh, if you'd have won, you'd have got back on the bus and all be smiling, but we haven't. So therefore, you look back at those decisions and you think they're critical. And that one at Old Trafford particularly, I mean, he nearly took his leg off.
But, I mean, we are fishing in the conspiracy theory pond, are we not, Paul? And it's never a good idea to do that, surely.
I'm not on the fence with that whatsoever. I mean, I just think it's crazy what people are coming out with. It's all about City, and City, because of the big guns, will get all the decisions and all that stuff. We've seen it recently. I think it's a load of nonsense.
Paul, on the pitch yesterday, where do you think? I mean, it's interesting in the summer when the likes of De Bruyne, Walker, Akanji, Gundogan, Ederson, all these players who've won many titles were allowed to leave the football club. Do you think that the crown, as it were, sits properly on the head of this next generation of players? Are they really good enough? I know you've got a lot of injuries, haven't you? Gvardiol's out at the moment. Diaz at the back. It looks very poor at the back, if you don't mind me saying. At the back, it doesn't look watertight at all. Where is the biggest problem?
I think tactically we've changed. The system seems to be sort of compensating maybe the players that are missing. So we're sort of putting a little bit of like sort of square pegs in round holes, which obviously has had an impact. You've only got to look at that Bodo game. But like you said there, you've lost those calibre of players, and yes, they have been replaced. But to me, they're nowhere near what we used to have previously. And I think we've just been very, very privileged in that we've had an era where we've had absolutely fantastic footballers. And now we're probably just a little bit of a level below.
So, Paul, is it Arsenal's title? Is it Arsenal's title?
No, don't rule it out yet.
There you go. Okay, Paul, thanks for the call. Leon's another Manchester City fan. Leon, good morning. Specifically on Rodri's comments, what do you make of it?
Good morning, first of all.
Morning.
Also, Simon, I'm a big fan of you. I respect a lot of what you say, because you say a lot of things from the business side, which I respect. Regarding Rodri, I think what he said has been blown way out of proportion. I don't think he's just trying to say it's a conspiracy against City. I think it's awful against every team in the league. At the game, Arsenal beat Everton. Everton should have had a clear penalty. The game last night, that is a foul, clear and obvious. The game against Wolves, yeah, we were winning. That's not the problem. The problem is, VAR is a joke. VAR has to go.
It won't go. It's not going anywhere, Leon. It's staying, because it makes many more decisions right than wrong.
The referees have to take account for the serious errors that they are making. And it's not just City. It's every single team. And it's most games. It is awful. It's embarrassing how bad VAR is.
I mean, VAR is here to stay. Yeah, I mean, you've got to realise that, Leon. It is here to stay. It's been much more successful than you would give it credit for. It gets many more decisions right than wrong. That's a fact.
No, it's not a fact.
Well, I'm afraid it is a fact.
If VAR gets involved in, say, 20 incidents in a game, how many of those are tiny little nickels here?
But Leon, in the previous years gone by, City was so good they didn't need to get involved, did they, in these types of arguments? Does it not look like suddenly you're clutching at straws here because your team isn't showing what it needs to right now? And I think there's still going to be twists and turns here, by the way. They can still be champions.
I like the previous caller was saying, we haven't been playing great. I'm not taking that away. United deserve to win. But yes, that is 100% a red card. How has VAR not seen that and said,
So when VAR intervened last week and the referee went over to the monitor and disregarded VAR, your manager went berserk and started criticising the referee for wanting to make a debut.
Rightly so.
So it's not the VAR now; it's the on-field referees as well.
It's the officials. The officials who VAR, the officials in general, they are not anywhere near good enough.
Would we have heard from you this morning, Leon, if City had won at Tottenham?
Say that again, sorry.
Would we have heard from you this morning if Manchester City had won at Tottenham yesterday?
Yes, I was on talkSPORT last night. I think the whole thing is embarrassing.
If you'd won, would we have been hearing from you?
Yes, you would.
You think?
Is
okay.
there an allowable, in your mind's eye as a fan, is there an allowable margin of error for refereeing decisions? Is there an allowable margin of error that referees are allowed to make?
Yeah, there is an allowable margin.
So a lot of the decisions that we're seeing are, when people say inconsistency, it's not the same referee refereeing the same games. It's different referees refereeing different games and using a subjective outlook at times on subjective decisions. So you're always going to have differences of outlook. So when we talk about inconsistency, it's a fool's errand to suggest that. But if you've got a margin of error built in, because apparently the only people that are not allowed to have a margin of error are managers and players, or more to the point, they get a big margin of error. The only people that aren't allowed to have it is referees. I look at it and say, when we say the refereeing standard isn't good enough, compared to what?
Yeah.
And benchmark against what?
Yeah. Tom's another Manchester City fan. Where are you in this, Tom? And where are you in this conspiracy theory that Roger's putting forward? People don't want us to win, but the referee has to be neutral. Do you think the referees are neutral, Tom?
I do, yeah. For me, it's the thing that gets to me is I wanted to get Martin's take on the first Tottenham goal as a centre half. He's kicked through the back of Gay. It's clearly a foul. Watching the game, VAR weren't even checking for that. They were checking for an offside, and I was quite surprised that Gary Neville didn't mention it either. He had no clue really until later on when Pep got booked. So I just wanted to get Martin's take on that goal. Really, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. When I watched it, obviously, and at the time, I'm thinking, well, if you get your leg between the ball and your opponent, and he kicks through, you think, okay, that's a foul on me, so the goal shouldn't stand. But actually, when I looked back on it, and I don't know whether the referee saw this in real time, he actually sort of pokes the ball, and it's sort of more of a finesse. He doesn't blast the ball, he just pokes it and brings his foot back. So when it stood, I thought, okay, I'd have to accept that. I'd have to accept it. Now, look, when we're all at boiling point and we're all kind of like emotional, we do think the world's against us. And that's what City fans will feel.
And that's what Rodri feels.
Because it could have gone the other way.
Is that what Rodri feels?
That's what Rodri feels.
Yeah.
You have to, after the game, you're still hot in the head, you're still kind of angry.
Yeah.
And you say things maybe you might regret. But that doesn't mean that the feelings doesn't go away, Jim, because every team feels somewhere along the line here. This magic wand has not appeared with VAR. People haven't come in and suddenly changed things because it's all subjective as well to somebody else, some other individual that's sitting at the controls. So, no, if I'm honest, I would have been unhappy if I hadn't got a free kick there. But when I watched it back, Tom, I felt it was okay to go with it.
Okay. Listen, thanks for the calls. No doubt about this, though. City's loss, although they didn't lose it, but it's Arsenal's gain. Of that, there is no doubt. Have Arsenal emphatically shelved the bottling narrative? We'll get into that next.
I've got to say, though, I am with Dino on this one, really, as opposed to yourself, Jay. But I think Thomas Frank should be given, Tom. I think the trouble is, you see, it's too easy to sort of say, oh, we're not doing well, sack the manager, right? He's only been in the job 6 months. Let's be frank here, right? I'm going to spell it out for the other fans, right? They're listening to your glorious channel, right? We finished 17th in the league. He has not taken over a team that finished in the top 4. We qualified the Champions League because we won that trophy.
Yeah, we won the Europa League and we had a load of injuries and we sacked off the Premier League at the end of last season. So, yeah, I know we finished 17th and it wasn't good enough. I get that. But there needed to be a massive improvement. With the players that we've got, we shouldn't be where we are in the table. You can't... The performances, Chris, are not acceptable in the Premier League. That's your bread and butter. And look, we're a great side in the Champions League and we're a joy to watch. But that's got to go into the Premier League performances.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, look, we should have done better against Burnley. There's no question about that. But I do think as well, again, this is where with Dino in this one, right? The thing is, I don't think it's all Thomas Frank's fault, right? We need, right? And the thing is, look, this is a hangover from the old boardroom that were there, right? We did not push the boat out enough for signings, right? I mean, we've got a lot of average players in that team, right? I mean, apart from Van der Ven, Porro, and maybe Kulusevski,
Romero.
They are bang average. Romero as well. They're bang average players, Jay.
Kulusevski ain't.
Kulusevski's, I think he's a great player.
Xavi Simons is starting to show some signs of being a top player.
Is Richarlison injured?
Richarlison's injured. Solanke's come back. Solanke, again, jury's out for me on him, but he's a good player. When we signed him, I was happy that we signed him.
Well, he's 60 million, wasn't he?
We spent a few quid on him for sure, but he had a really good season at Bournemouth. But he hasn't got going yet at Tottenham.
Bunch of things going on out there. Remember, 7 o'clock deadline tonight, transfer deadline day. Let's get the latest from Ben.
Good afternoon. And I think one of the interesting things in this market is Arsenal, who are in talks to sign the Heart striker James Wilson. It's an initial loan. The 18-year-old has already made nearly 50 appearances in the Scottish Premier League. So Arsenal doing a bit of business because, of course, Mikel Merino has that broken foot. Jeremy Jacquet, I can tell you, has arrived to begin his Liverpool medical ahead of a 55 million plus 5 million switch, which will officially take place in summer 2026. Liverpool beating off competition from Chelsea there. Now, we were led to believe that Fulham's pursuit of Ricardo Pepi was off, simply because PSV can't find a replacement. But there's just a glimmer of hope in that, what I'm told. Still perhaps unlikely, but not as dead as we were necessarily led to believe a couple of hours ago. And Axel Disasi has arrived for a West Ham medical, but there's still the personal terms to do with the player as well. So the clubs are going through the formalities, but Disasi has to agree to the move as well. So that's one to watch. And then a reminder, Mamadou Sarr expected to come back to Chelsea, seeing his loan terminated. Wolves also really busy at the moment. Jorgen Strand Larsen to Crystal Palace and Jean-Philippe Mateta hopefully going to Milan, but there are some medical checks that need to take place this morning before that move is formalised. And then Adam Armstrong to Molineux, 7 million plus 2 million in add-ons, and very possibly Che Adams as well, although Wolves haven't yet agreed a fee with Torino, but that might change as the day progresses.
Ben, thank you very much indeed. James Wilson, interesting that. On loan to Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't Hearts just lost Lawrence Shanklin out of injury? Aren't they trying to win the SPFL?
Yeah, Devlin and Shanklin out through injury at the moment.
18-year-old doesn't ring true, does it? Maybe there's a loan with a purchase. That could be the only reason. He's a striker. Marino is a midfield player, so I'm not sure how we're linking those two together as a replacement.
He played for Northern Ireland under-17s in the past, and thereafter it's been Scotland. But just an 18-year-old there. In James Wilson making the headlines today, set to leave Hearts on loan to Arsenal. We'll keep across that for you. Of that, there is no doubt. On Arsenal, I mean, what a difference a week makes, doesn't it? Arsenal's gap at the top returns to 6 points. That's thanks to the win, and it was a convincing win at Leeds United. And of course, that was coupled with City's slip-up at Tottenham and Villa's defeat at home to Brentford. So it's looking good, is it not, for Mikel Arteta?
Well, very, very happy, obviously. A very impressive performance, a very impressive result. And in the context that we've done it, we knew about the difficulty of the game and the opponent that we're facing with the recent form and the style of play that they have at the moment, the energy that the stadium brings. And then the fact that after 3 results that didn't go our way in the league, we really wanted to show how much we wanted it. And I think we certainly done that today.
Oh, they certainly wanted it, Martin, didn't they? But we have to remember boos from their own home support in the game against Manchester United. Mental strength, I should say, mental strength. Did Arsenal provide the perfect response at Leeds?
Yeah, of course they did. You know, this journey of week to week, Jim, you know, you got to shut that noise out. And people talking about you being champions, some of it mischievously, from some people saying this would be the worst ever Arsenal team. You just go and win it. Doesn't matter what you look like.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter at all. Just go and win it, Jim. And you know, obviously that pressure, people try to create pressure, and when you don't get what you want, they look for all kind of weaknesses. And Arsenal just keep on. You know, they're better than everybody else right now. That's all they need to be.
So it's just nonsense from Paul Scholes. If Arsenal win the title, if they win the league, this could be the worst team to win the league.
Look, I love Paul, but you know, this is like one of his comments. Is like one of his tackles, isn't it? It's waist high. And it's just Paul is still got it in his head. This Arsenal thing is starting to emerge. Maybe Man United are starting to emerge as well at the same time. Let's get it on. You know, in the future, Man United maybe not ready to win it this year, but they shut Arsenal up the week before. So no, I think Arsenal just need to concentrate, play their games, not listen to the noise that's on the outside, Jim. Arsene Wenger said this to us many years ago. You know, there's no meaning or everyone telling us that we're favourites. Don't listen to it. Let's just go and do it. Go and do it. And that's what Arsenal did at the weekend. I think it was quite an emphatic result.
What's he up to, do you think, by saying that? This could be the worst team to win the league, says Paul Scholes.
Where did he say it? Did he say it on his little podcast?
He did indeed. He says, if you're thinking of picking a team of the season and picking a front four, nobody from the Arsenal team gets in that.
Do you know, no one's going to be listening to Paul Scholes, are they, on the Arsenal team? For God's sake, you know, you just get on with your game and you try and win. This will be the first, what is it, in 22 years? Trophy that they can try to win. Jim, they're doing exceptionally well. Lots of twists and turns between now and the end of the season. What I will say is Paul's been in a lot of these races to the finish, and it's one of those that just one victory doesn't mean you're going to be champions. It's on to the next one.
Is there
what Arsenal need to do now, Jim? That they can go 9 points clear next weekend.
Yeah,
and then Man City go to Anfield the next day. Make it 9 points. Make them look at 9 points, and overnight see that, and it starts to sink in. Then they start to question themselves. If Man City can go to Anfield and win, they're massively still in this race, because that would be impressive.
It's not a fair comment. I mean, the fair comment is that the front four, that potentially there's an argument about you wouldn't pick those. Maybe if you're talking about Saka, then you would. But ultimately, he's got some substance there. But if you asked him to stand up that observation against the 32 teams that have won the Premier League, or 32 times it's been won, and analyse which has been the worst team and why he makes this observation, he's at it. I mean, I like Paul Scholes as a player. He didn't cover himself in glory as a manager, and I think this sort of punditry is poor from him, because it's not right. Arsenal just smashed the Champions League, just finished top of the Champions League, won all 8 games. This is a decent Arsenal side. It's a good Arsenal side. It's a side that I think Arteta's conducting himself brilliantly at this moment. And I think his press conferences last week talking about the culture of winning inside this football club and what's expected was excellent. I think the reaction to the result against Liverpool, the reaction against Man United, brought out some reaction from the fans and from pundits. And I thought the next game off the rank was against Leeds. Leeds are not an easy side to beat.
So he's stirring the pot.
They smashed them. They went up to the Leeds United and smashed them. And everyone against Leeds in the last 10 games has struggled. That's a form team in the division. And they went up there and annihilated them on their own patch.
Should Scholes have said, Simon, not the worst team to win the league, the most boring, maybe. 22 goals from corners. There have been criticisms of them in open play, Martin, that they don't do enough, they're not exciting enough.
I don't think they're boring. The game in San Siro, with the game against Inter Milan, you probably leave Man United because you've left a little bit in midweek. You know, Man United just get one game a week, don't they? Just to think about.
But they're at it. Well, there's nothing. I'd like to leave something on Martin with his lack of objectivity, but I can't, because what Paul is saying is not right. I don't want to lean into him or lean into Petit last week, but they're right in what they said.
Yeah.
First and foremost, Emmanuel, albeit a little bit Churchillian, a little bit Lord Kitchener, right, about you will do this, and that's why the fans came back at him. But they're right. This Arsenal side is a decent side. You can find fault in everything if you want.
I'm not sitting here gloating, because I'm telling you now, there are twists and turns to come. And Paul will know that. Paul Scholes knows that. And he knows you don't want the backsides twitching, do you, at this stage? You go and win your games.
So it's not done yet, Mark.
No, it's not done yet. And one win at Leeds doesn't cut it enough for me.
I think the manager's in control.
But if you beat Sunderland and this next weekend, and Man City are looking at going to Anfield, because Anfield is one of the most difficult places to go to. They're starting to there's a renaissance again. Ekitike looked very good to me the weekend. This is a difficult place to go now.
Okay, so Scholes is saying if Arsenal win the league, this could be the worst team to win the league. Is he right about that? But does it really matter how you win the Premier League title? Has it become a case if you can't beat Arsenal, you've got to bash Arsenal? Is that what Scholes is doing? Give us a shout on that. Is he right? The worst team to win the Premier League? 03717 223344 at 11 o'clock this Monday morning.
I'm doing this gig up a ski slope end of season in Austria, and I'm with my dad and we're travelling down to the gondola. It's a big gig, but we'll get up there in a gondola, and my security goes, Maradona's here and he wants to say hello to you. I'm like, Maradona in Austria? I'm like, yeah, get out of the car and there's Maradona. And like, you know, I don't speak Spanish, and you know, but we're very happy to see each other, and we have our pictures taken together, and we go up in the gondola, and my dad's like, what's your life like, son? I go, it's amazing, isn't it? People like Maradona want to come and see me, and then 2 days later I'm looking at the news on the Mac, and Maradona is at the Chelsea game, and that Maradona hasn't got a beard at the Chelsea game. That wasn't Maradona that I met.
No, it was.
It was an imposter.
What, claiming to be Maradona?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. You ever been scammed like that?
Not like that. Maradona coming.
Didn't you scammed someone though, didn't you?
What was that? What
was it?
Can't remember it.
No.
But anyway, I got in there, and then I'm in the club, and he thinks I'm the lead singer, Nathan Moore, right? Nathan Moore, and he thinks I'm the lead singer from Brother Beyond.
Yeah.
And they had a song, The Harder You Try. We'll play it in a second, right? And Nathan Moore at that stage was one of that Brother Beyond. Everyone like, Brother Beyond, Brother Beyond. And then I go in there, and I was only about 18, 19 at the time. And then he comes up to me. I've got 3 drinks there, and he comes up to me. He says to me, "Can you come on stage and sing?"
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles built around your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 4 minutes past 11, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. France under-21 centre-back Jeremy Jacquet is having his Liverpool medical as we speak. They've beaten Chelsea to his signature by allowing Jacquet to stay at Rennes till the summer. Meanwhile, are Crystal Palace overpaying Wolves for Jorgen Strand-Larsen?
I don't think he's a good player. No. I mean, but ultimately, if Crystal Palace do, then that's the £48 million that they've spent. I would imagine the Mateta deal will go through.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine them spending money that they haven't already recouped.
We're still waiting on news of Mateta's extra medical checks at AC Milan. Elsewhere on deadline day, we're told Fulham have rejected Everton's offer for Harry Wilson. Meanwhile, we're now hearing Fulham's move for PSV striker Ricardo Pepi could still be on. One to keep an eye on. All the latest at talksport.com. Now, Ali McCoy says Pep Guardiola should concentrate on Man City's drop-off rather than refereeing decisions.
He's got far more concerns than that goal being allowed, I think, because the second half they completely disappeared. Not for the first time this season. I think I mentioned it earlier, Jeff, before we speak. week. I think the fear factor's gone with City totally.
Pep thought Solanke's first goal shouldn't have stood as Spurs came back to draw with Man City. And England's previous white ball captain is backing his successor Harry Brook to stay on in the job. Joss Butler's told talkSPORT Brook's learnt his lessons.
He's a very natural leader. He's incredibly calm, tactically reads the game brilliantly, leads with the bat. Like the way he plays is fantastic. And I think he's got an incredible mindset. He doesn't seem fazed by much.
Brook says he lied about a New Zealand nightclub incident ahead of the Ashes to protect his teammates. There's more on talkSPORT's cricket YouTube channel.
talkSPORT News.
And investigators told us he has evidence of Lord Mandelson illegally sending Jeffrey Epstein government documents, and there are calls for London's police to act after a second woman claims she was paid to have sex with the former Prince Andrew. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Whatever the winter weather, Bridgestone Turanza all-season 6 tyres. Guaranteed for 25,000 miles. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
Cloudy with outbreaks of light rain and drizzle for most of us. That rain heavier in the northeast, turning breezy.
Good morning, everybody. It is transfer deadline day. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT, coming to you live on your TV as well. Just a reminder, it's only just the start of the day really here at talkSPORT. We'll keep you updated on all the developments throughout the day. I'll be back this evening at 6:30 alongside Alex Crook and Danny Murphy as the picture really changes by then, of course, and we'll take you through the deadline itself at 7. And then beyond with all the reaction. Will Strand Larsen be a Crystal Palace player by then? Could well be. Will Jean-Philippe Mateta be an AC Milan player? Could well be. A whole bunch of things going on at the moment. Jeremy Jacquet is to undergo a medical with Liverpool today after a fee of £60 million has been agreed with the French club Rennes, but he won't join Liverpool until the summer. But that is one to put in the back burner. That one well underway. A medical for him at Liverpool today. And a whole bunch of things going on. Maybe at your club, you'll need to tune in to find out. We're with you, of course, not just in talkSPORT, but you can watch us live on your TV. Samsung, LG, Fire TV, Apple TV, Chromecast, Android, Google, even Prime Video, wherever you want to watch us, we will be there for you. It's a while since I've given the list of TV options that you lucky people have. Arsenal very much out in front at this particular time. Everything fell nicely for them at the weekend, but of course they had to do their bit and win as well, and they did convincingly at Elland Road, Leeds. But does it really matter how you win a title? Is it going to become a case of if you can't beat Arsenal, then bash Arsenal? Paul Scholes seems to be doing that with these quotes. If Arsenal win the league, this could be the worst team to win the league. If you're thinking of picking a team of the season and picking a front four, nobody from Arsenal gets in that. Is he right? 03717 22 33 44. Connor, Arsenal fan, is he right?
Hello.
Good morning, Connor. Is Paul Scholes right?
Do you know what? I didn't expect to get through, actually, so thank you. But no, I don't think he is. I live in Manchester. I've done for 10 years, so I've had to put up with a lot of stick over the years. But you hear some of the pundits saying, oh, they'll bottle it. In January, by the way, they'll bottle it if with the squad that they've got and the depth they've got. But then, within a week later, if we do win it, it's the most boring and worst team to ever win it. I just find it absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. Do you think he's at it, Connor?
I do, mate. And I think it's easy. When he was playing, obviously it was Arsenal and United rivals. It was a tough rivalry. And I just think you must be doing something right if no one's got a nice word to say about you. You know, like the way that the teams play against us, we just have to win.
Do you like this Arsenal team? Do you enjoy watching this Arsenal team, Connor?
There's some games like any fans. I probably would find it boring. But what I'm liking compared to the other seasons is we're not trying to please people with how we play. We're just trying to win the league. And that's the difference this season, you know.
Good
you know,
call,
when
isn't it?
Chelsea won the league several years ago, they won with 1-0, you know, but they didn't get the same stick as what we're getting this season.
Connor, it's just interesting. Connor, just interesting because you're living in Manchester, as an Arsenal fan. So because for me, there's like this wall or phony war of, you know, nobody wants to see. I feel this anyway, but maybe this is paranoia again, as Jim will jump in on me. There's this feeling that the neutral fan is like, Arsenal have already declared they're going to be champions, so nobody really wants Arsenal to do it. Nobody wants Arsenal to win. So you get this mischievousness from former players. You know, we've had players on, we've had people on some of our talkSPORT shows. Jamie O'Hara, is it? On his show.
That's the one, Jimmy O'Hara.
Going absolutely off the deep end, showing massive bitterness, but trying to sort of, when they're just trying to crank it up a little bit. Arsenal just need to crack on and play. How are you dealing with that? Living in Manchester, every coffee shop, every pub you go to, somebody, here comes the Arsenal fan. You must be getting it in bucketfuls.
That's it, yeah. I mean, like last weekend, mate, honestly, it's like I just got off a plane and all the texts came through at once. But then this weekend, I can't hear from anybody.
I've gone silent.
What I'm trying to do differently this year is just, I'm not promising anything. I'm just enjoying the team. I think that what Arteta has done, he's just built a really bunch of humble guys. He's covered absolutely everywhere. And he's adapted to modern football. And sometimes you have to win by a set piece. And then when people try and outplay us, it shows how good we are as a team.
Connor, what a good call. Very good call, mate. Thank you for it. Enjoy Manchester. Dean's another Arsenal fan. Dean, good morning. Does it matter how you win a title, Dean, if you're going to win it anyway?
Morning, gentlemen. Great show as always.
Thanks, Dean.
Morning, Dean.
What do you think? Does it matter how you win it?
No, I don't. I keep hearing all these players come out. I mean, there was another video sent to me this morning from Rio Ferdinand, absolutely giving Arsenal pelters, and it's just making out that listen, the football may not be great, but it's not by some sort of fluke or chance that we're top of the Premier League, unbeaten in the Champions League, top of that group. One game away from being into a final and still in the FA Cup. That is no fluke. But the fact that they keep, even Sky Sports and the others, dropping this narrative that, I mean, after the game on Saturday, Alcaraz getting pelters. It's like people are out to get us, and it's just no one's giving us props for actually what we're doing.
Are you bothered about that, Dean?
A little bit, but I tried to shut out the noise like Arteta tells the players to do. But when I'm friends with a lot of Man U fans, and they're just constantly at it, saying, "Oh, own goals are the top goal scorer."
Sorry to interrupt, Dean. Do you go to the Arsenal games, Dean? Are you at the home games?
I do, yeah.
And do you think where Arsenal had 4 away games on the bounce before they played Manchester United, do you think there was a bit of anxiety building? Because they'd been to Forest and there'd been a couple of results they didn't get. And then it became the fans then showed their displeasure a little bit too much?
Yeah, there was a little bit. I think there's rumblings of it. Four tricky away games. I think there's no easy game in the Premiership. And I think this season just absolutely proves that. But yeah, there's some sort of rumblings of anxiousness, and I think where we've been so close yet so far in the previous seasons and just almost got there, I think fans are a little bit nervous about that. As how I feel.
Okay, Dean, listen, thanks for the call. There's Tommy, who's a Manchester United fan. Yeah, they'll probably win it, but let's face it, they are boring. Reno, Arsenal fan, are you boring? Is your team boring, Reno?
Does it matter? Look, technically, we're brilliant. Yeah, we may not be going forward, we may not be making these fantastic runs, but technically we're a brilliant side. I was there 70-71 as a young teenager. Boring Arsenal. We did the double. As a fan, that was the most exciting season I've ever had. I went to the away games, home games, and frankly speaking, we're winning. Nobody complained when Chelsea parked the bus, won the European Cup, and Lampard came out and said, "We're the best team in the world. Nobody can beat us."
Reno, thank you for that.
Difference?
Yeah, good points, aren't they, Simon? Fair points.
Yeah.
They're winning it. They're streaking towards the title at the moment, and they're looking really good for winning it.
It's the modern day way of responding to things. We probably are guilty of it ourselves, which is to micromanage things, to find something to criticise. You're not going to get 2 Manchester United players that were harked back to an era that won things waxing lyrical about Arsenal. I would like to see people being objective and balanced, and I'd also like to see these guys on their little podcast being made to stand up their arguments. When they say these sort of things, you should have somebody alongside them going, well, that don't make a lot of sense, because your 2013 team was pretty crap. I think Blackburn won a wonderful side in 1995, so I think I can probably go through.
When Man United won it, by the way, which was the platform for the Scholeses and Nevilles to go on and win copious amounts of Premier Leagues, do you think they gave a hoot how they won it the first year? Was it 92 when...
That's a fair point.
You know, you saw Brian Kidd and all those pictures jumping on the pitch. They gave a hoot how they won it.
But they weren't confronted with a legion of ex-Arsenal players that were doing podcasts.
No, exactly that.
Content, were they?
That wasn't the world that we lived in then.
Yeah. Let's go to Anthony, who's been waiting patiently. Anthony, does it bother you how you win it? If you end up winning it, you've won it, you know?
No, good morning, lads. Great show as usual.
Thanks, Anthony.
I just want to say hello to Martin, the legend. Martin, you probably don't remember me. I met you in Holiday Inn years ago. I came to get Ian Wright to sign my book for me, and I met you in the foyer. You was reading the newspaper, and you took the picture and you said, bloody hell, right, he's got more gold teeth than you. But anyway, that's a quick one. No, I think it's a disgrace how Scholes and Butt are talking, to be honest, Jim. Let's be honest, like you just touched on, the worst Premiership team was the last team Fergie won the league with. Because if you remember, Fergie left, Moyes came in, and that team after that got absolutely pelted, couldn't defend nothing, absolutely dross. So how can he sit there and talk about if this Arsenal team wins the league, it's the worst team to ever win it? No. And let's talk about it realistically. Leicester City should never have won the Premiership. They should never have won the Premiership. So how can you sit there and say, oh, if this Arsenal team wins, it's the worst Arsenal team? Like the previous caller said, Chelsea, parking buses, Jose Mourinho, winning at all costs. Nobody questioned Jose. Nobody questioned Jose when he wins at all costs.
Anthony, who had more gold teeth, you or Martin Keown?
No, I didn't have any of it.
Oh, you didn't have any?
It was Ian Wright.
Ian Wright did.
But I've still got the book, Martin, and I never forget it, because you're a legend, a real legend.
It's very kind.
I don't forget the things that you used to do to Emil Esky as well, because I know Emil personally, and he says you used to rough him up on the pitch when the ref weren't looking. But fair play to
Can't comment on that.
Dreadful. I mean, Emil Esky / everyone.
Emil was a great guy.
So does it matter how Arsenal win it? Come the time they do win it. They haven't won it yet. We've got a bit to go yet. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, and the legend that is Martin Keown. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
They seem like a different team. You know, Fernandes is picking the ball up in areas he wants to, and it looks like he's controlling that midfield. You know, you've got Mainu who's come back into it. He's really, you know, amazing performances, really, when he hasn't played in the Premier League since probably May, isn't it? Something like that. So, you know, certain players have come back in, Ben, and, you know, it looks like they've been let off the leash. And some of the goals against Man United, against Arsenal, Cunha's goal was a fantastic winner, but even the second and first goal, Burmo took it so well.
Yeah, I think United have had these players. They've had players that are verging on the edge of world class. They've had them for the last couple of seasons, but they just haven't been able to show it. They haven't been able to go out there and express themselves and play with a smile on the face. I know this system. We all know this system didn't really suit Man United with three at the back, and it wasn't rocket science to change it to four. It really wasn't. So I think everybody is just is on board with this kind of confidence, and now everybody. But you look at the fixtures they've got as well: Spurs, West Ham, Everton, Palace. The next 4 games. That guy, the one who hasn't cut his hair for a while, the United Strand guy.
United Strand, yeah.
I'm thinking that he doesn't want these to be wins, you know. I'm thinking like, what's he going to do for content afterwards? So they've got.
It's Simon's favourite day. It's transfer deadline day. Let's get the very latest from Ben Jacobs.
Well, good morning, and I can tell you a few bits of very interesting breaking news. The first thing to say is key hours ahead in the Jean-Philippe Mateta saga, because Milan have finished their precautionary medical checks. Depending on how they come back after a medical that flagged some issues yesterday, they will decide whether to proceed or not. At the moment, Crystal Palace have not heard, and they are planning to still sign Jorgen Strand Larsen. But Milan are going to make a decision, I'm told, on Jean-Philippe Mateta, potentially within the next hour. Axel Disasi needs some convincing to join West Ham United on loan. Medical is set, club-to-club agreement in place, but Disasi hasn't yet given a green light. So that is one to watch throughout the day. I can also tell you that Middlesbrough have rejected an approach from Nottingham Forest for Hayden Hackney. The player is not for sale. It's a similar case for Everton as well, who tried for Harry Wilson in the last 48 hours, and Fulham said no, but Everton are expected to sign Tyreek George. That deal is being formalised this afternoon, and it is going to be a loan with an option to buy.
Ben, thank you very much indeed. Let's just talk over what Ben was saying there. It would be something else if Milan end up shelving the move for Jean-Philippe Mateta, Simon, wouldn't it? After a medical, after going the distance they've gone.
Yeah, I mean, the deals fall down on medicals, don't they? I'd be surprised if it does. I'd also be interested to see what payment terms Palace have paid Wolves on, because there's one thing stumping up 48 grand on the nail, it's another thing paying it over 2 or 3 years. So the exposure to getting Mateta out the door to subsidise that deal might not be so prevalent if they've got a real deal on the drip. Although Wolves probably want the money now, so it'd be interesting to see how that case is. I would be surprised. I'll be surprised if this Milan deal falls away.
Jim, I had a medical at Arsenal coming back, and the pressure I was under because they announced to me, "Oh, there's a problem with your knee," and I knew I had a problem with my knee, but I'd always been ahead of that. I'd been to see a specialist in Cambridge called Dandy, but the best in the country, which I went myself just to make sure. I knew there was interest. But nonetheless, Arsenal took then 3 or 4 days for it to actually go through. It had been announced to the public. We didn't have the transfer window situation as we did then, as we do now. But nonetheless, it was a difficult 2 or 3 days. And Mateta won't be, he'll be going through it a little bit. They'll be wondering, Palace will be wondering if this is a bit of manoeuvring going on, and there'll be lots of information going back and forth. But let's hope he's okay. I think he's been a real handful as a centre forward this season. I saw him at the beginning of the season playing against Liverpool, and they couldn't deal with him. Remember the Community Shield final? He's been really good and been a part major part, Jim, in their success there, Palace. So I think it's a big loss.
What goes on with certain players, Simon? I mean, according to Ben there, Axel Disasi needs a bit of convincing before he agrees to joining West Ham. This is the same Axel Disasi who's been part of the Chelsea bomb squad, training on their own for the last year.
Yeah, but he might not want to swap frying pans for fires, mightn't he? He's looking at Chelsea going, my currency at Chelsea I may not be in the highest list of things to do, but I'm still at Chelsea. I may not be part of the equation that's featuring in the first team, but if I land at West Ham, there's a distinct possibility, A, my currency goes down even further, and B, I land up in the Championship. So whilst I take the point, and there's and you think to yourself, what is it you want to do? Do you want to play? Or do you want to whine about not playing?
He could be an important piece in the jigsaw puzzle for them, though, for West Ham.
For West Ham.
They've had 2 victories, at the weekend. They were 2 up. I mean, they're showing a lot of good signs. They do not look in the last 3 games like a team who are going to get relegated.
Do you think that's very dispiriting for them to have lost the game against Chelsea the way that they did? They got themselves in front. Chelsea just seemingly changed the entire shape of their team for the second half and then went, thanks very much, have some of that.
Yeah, but then I think if you'd have at the Forest game, if you're anybody who witnessed that game where they lost to Forest at home, there was no way they were capable of going 2 up at Chelsea, no matter what team Chelsea put out. So it's a step in the right direction.
18 points they've lost from winning positions, West Ham. 18 points.
Well, they're 6 points behind Forest.
Yeah.
18
points
6
from
points.
winning positions.
It's a big ask.
But Mark, my point is about Disasi.
They're 6 points from the last 9.
How much lower can it get for him? He's totally out of the equation at Chelsea. Surely you want to play.
Yeah, but that's the concern.
Shine for West Ham, then you get a chance further down the line going someplace else.
But there's nothing beats playing. There's nothing beats playing. But I just wonder whether or not, because normally they want to loan people, Chelsea. They want him out the door. They want some money back in. Maybe there's a decision. Maybe there's a decision for him. And if he doesn't really want to go to West Ham, do they really want to play like that anyway? So let's see what comes out of the mix.
Maybe he's got other options. Maybe that at the end of the season, there's other things on the table for him, and maybe he doesn't feel that West Ham is the right place for him to go. I take the point, everyone's point, that you'd like to think that players want to get out and play, and if the opportunity provides itself, then you think that playing for a manager, who I personally like, I know your little agent friend that texted you in saying that he's going to get West Ham relegated, doesn't think so.
West Ham's next game,
David Sullivan's ear, apparently.
West Ham next they play Burnley next. So what, are we looking at that as a 3-pointer? No disrespect to Burnley, but if you're going to stay up, West Ham, we're looking.
I mean, the killer for West Ham must be like
6 point
where they won a game and then Forest won one a day later, didn't they? Do you remember that one?
Plenty going on out there. Ben is working hard. He'll be updating us very shortly on this transfer deadline day. And remember, I'll be back at 6:30 tonight alongside Alex Crook and Danny Murphy, and we'll take you through the deadline at 7. You can listen and watch that show. Listen to the show and watch the show as well. And maybe this goes back to times gone by when I was at Sky Sports on deadline day with the yellow tie, and Simon, of course, was the owner of Crystal Palace, and a proud young owner he was too. And Martin Keown just glanced at the Times there
at the time,
and complimented this article that had given the Times this morning, to which Mr. Jordan said, yeah, I remember him, little snake. And now we do talkSPORT every day, 10 to 1, live on talkSPORT, courtesy of Selco. It's where the trade goes.
Looking at the points, they're on the same points as Crystal Palace. They're 2 in front of Leeds. They're 3 in front of Forest. They're 8 ahead of West Ham. They haven't won, though, in any of their last 5 games in the Premier League, when they've played Burnley, West Ham, Bournemouth, Sunderland and Brentford. And the next 7 fixtures that they've got look pretty tricky. City at home at the weekend, United away, Newcastle at home, Arsenal at home, Fulham away, Palace at home, Liverpool away, straight after the international break, plus the Champions League fixtures thrown into that. Are they too good to get dragged into a relegation battle?
I think they are. And I think a bigger problem for them as well, Sam, is, like Crookie said there, some of these players are turning up in the Champions League. But are you looking at Simmons and saying, look at the standard of players you're playing against in the Champions League? As well. Yeah, Moani hasn't scored in the Premier League yet, but they're 10 points off Manchester United in fourth position. If I'm the hierarchy at Spurs, I'm saying we want to get back-to-back Champions League seasons. Not going to happen this season because they're
Can you
miles
see
off
them
it.
getting back into contention for a European place with games against City, United, Newcastle, Arsenal, Fulham and Palace and Liverpool over the next
They could easily not win a game out of all those games. They could easily not win
He'll be gone if that does happen. You know, he's bought himself a little bit of respite, certainly with a hierarchy. Won't take long for the fans to turn again if they start to struggle against Man City this weekend. If they don't start to put wins on the board, inevitably they're going to make a change.
Solanke could be a player that helps him out. It's looked good to see Solanke back. He's given him that physical presence up front, holding the ball up, linking with players. Took his goal well during the week as well. That is not an easy finish to take your time, composure, put into the corner of the net. So keeping Solanke fit, getting him the service that he needs. But other players have got to turn up. Simmons, Muani, Odebear. You've got to do more.
When you think about famous F1 circuits, the likes of Silverstone, Monza, Monaco come to mind. One of these is not like the others though. Monaco is just one of a number of street circuits on the calendar, and that number's only set to rise. There's a clear difference between a traditional circuit and a street circuit. One is a purpose-built facility on private land, the other is, as it sounds, a race through the streets of a major city. Monaco is the famous example, twisting and turning through the streets of the Principality with iconic backgrounds and, let's be honest, not a lot of overtaking. But from 2026, there'll be a record 10 street circuits on the calendar. It proves that cash remains king. Each track promoter gives F1 between $20 and $60 million just for the rights to host an F1 race. And when Saudi Arabia pays upwards of $100 million, you can see why it's an attractive prospect for the sport. But is it all positive? Well, the drivers aren't that bothered. If you ask a majority of them, they'll tell you historic circuits at Silverstone, Spa, Monza, Zandvoort, they're the favourites. For the sports organisers, though, it kind of makes sense. In 2025, Monaco had a record 2.3 million strong viewership in the US alone. Meanwhile, for the British Grand Prix several weeks later, 1.5 million tuned in. So while these races may not be rip-roaring, all-out action, thrill rides we want as race fans, people are tuning in even more, and bosses can demand even more cash.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+. Gambleaware.org.
And we're joined by Matt Gibson from BetMGM. We're going to pour over the odds right round and about the top sporting events, of course, in the world of football, not least. And we'll start with the top of the Premier League. Mr. Gibson, good morning to you. We're heading your way in terms of Leeds United and the bottom half shortly. But let's start with the top half of the Premier League.
Yeah, good morning, fellas. Obviously, I'm super happy to see Arsenal legend Martin Keown on the show after taking a beating off his boys on Saturday afternoon. Listen, Arsenal are just too good because they've got our number, haven't they? 9-0 across two legs, 7 games unbeaten Arsenal, and shortening all the time for the title. 2-13 now, current odds to win the league. They were 2-5 last week. Conversely, Manchester City just on a bit of a barge, lads, if I'm honest with you. Got down to around 5-2, 2-1 a couple of weeks ago. Now all the way out to 9-2. I watched that game last night, and I think if you offered any price on Spurs getting anything from the game at half time, you'd have been a madman, really. But fair play to Spurs, Solanke at the double, getting them right back into it. And I thought a really poor result for Aston Villa. I'm quite big on Villa and Emery, as you know, fellas, but failing to break down 10-man Brentford, I think was a wee bit of a missed opportunity there for them. Listen, we Arsenal are super short for the title, but I think the race for the top four is very much alive. You've got Villa, Man U, Chelsea, Liverpool. I think it's 2 from 4 there. Like we've got Man United at 9-10 for the top four, Villa at 2-5, Chelsea quite a big price, I think, at 6-4 to make the top four, and Liverpool, although they're below Chelsea in the league, we think they're going to get there for the top four at 9-10. So bookies are saying title is done, fellas, but top four is very much alive.
Well, I think so. In fact, let's speak more specifically at this stage then, since we've alighted on Manchester United, Matt, on Michael Carrick, because Carrick at the moment, 3 wins from 3, Fergie time resurrected, and United are back in the top 4. I mean, one wonders if the United ownership will be looking at Carrick thinking, yeah, we've found him. It's him. This was Carrick post-match.
Some of the best moments here that I've been lucky to be part of. The game, you can dissect the performance, and there's pluses and there's not. When you get a moment of the elation and the excitement like that, it's for me, there's no better place, in front of the Stretford end like that. It's and it ends up meaning more. I think people leave here with more than just United won today, and it kind of puts layers on top of that, and the connection and the feeling, the emotion, and it's why we all love it so much, and especially the supporters. So it goes a long way. There's been plenty. The excitement, that's part of this club, and it's not always the easiest way, but we'd like to win games a little bit more comfortably than that. But certainly when they come along, it's pretty special.
Going to get Martin's take on that in a second. Matt, I'll be back with you in a second. But Simon, how do you explain that Carrick in so many ways has lifted the misery, if you like, that was left by Amorim?
Yeah, the same Amorim that the fans were cheering for and supportive of and believing in the outcomes. I would think
blindly.
Well, I think if you convince people that are desperate that sand is water, they'll drink it, and that's what they were doing with Amorim to some extent. And we were all sitting on the sidelines thinking, well, he must know something that we don't. Let's wait and see. With Carrick, I was interested to see this result, because it's one thing playing against Manchester City and Arsenal getting results because the opposition comes into those games thinking they can beat you. It's another thing playing against Fulham, which is traditionally a difficult game for them to play against. The lesser sides are the ones that Man United come up against short. So I'm pleased for Carrick that they won. I'm pleased that the momentum is going forward, because I'd like to see a Man United side doing well rather than the constant negative headlines. So I think it's a good result. Now, does that lead you to the conclusion, aha, the Messiah is amongst us? It's a bit like the life of Brian. He's not the Messiah, he's a very naughty boy. We will see over the course of the next 10 or 15 games, because there's no hurry. You've got Diego Simeone coming out of Atletico available. Who knows whether he could be a Man United manager. You don't need to do anything with Michael Carrick. You need to let him continue on his journey, see where he's going, see what it looks like. I don't think he'll be the answer. I think he'll run into the same sort of challenges that other people have run into previously. But in the meantime, let him continue spreading the good word. Let him get Man United into the top 6, into the top 5, and who knows, maybe even into the top 4. I think they'll finish in the top 5.
Is it not going to be hard for them, Martin, not to consider him as the next permanent manager?
Do you know, I think Simon's right here in terms of, like, give him time. Let's see. It's been transformational, Jim. Let's be fair. So it's a change of tactics, a change of mentality, and now there's a change of expectation. And where that's expectation came, and I thought they did well actually when it went to 2-2 to actually go on and finish the job. You've got the man in through the door. I don't see any reason why you're not going to rush to come to a decision. By the way, possession's 9/10 of the law. You're the Manchester United manager. You keep winning like that, it's going to be very difficult to change him, because these so-called experts have come in over the years. The fans have had an appetite to keep the last one blindly. But now this one is it's transformational the way they're playing, Jim. And he's a traditionalist. He knows how the club plays and works.
He's got no distractions. He's got no background noise behind him. They've got no other cups to beat him. They've got nothing to run up against. The Villas have still got the European cups to play.
All that applied to Amorim.
I know, but we're talking about now, not what happened to Amorim. Amorim seems to have been a loose cannon that didn't have the players with him and played a system that he was going to settle down with and not change. And clearly the players are happier in this environment. Now, happier with someone they like isn't long-term success. Happier with someone they like is happy in this moment. And there's been many occasions when players have liked a manager. The moment a player tells you he likes the manager, that's the last manager you should possibly be employing, because you don't need a manager to be the player's friend. You need a manager to make difficult decisions with big players at difficult times. And it's okay right now because it's post-Amorim. If the hangover of Amorim was so negative for the players, they will be euphoric that someone is in their space, giving them something to feel optimistic about. But that will dissipate over a period of time. When people start hearing news that they don't want to hear, it'll revert back to some sort of type. And then you'll see if Carrick has the chops to be able to wade into the dark waters that other people are wading.
What chance do you give him of getting it, Martin?
If he keeps winning games, I'd keep him there. There's no doubt about it. He seems calm enough to deal with the job. He knows the expectation, Jim. It's interesting when you change back to a 4-3-3 and you're trying to give difficult stitching information to players that simply don't get it, don't enjoy it, don't really believe in it. It was all over. Their signature was all over their performances. You revert back to a 4-3-3. You make it much, much easier, Jim, to out possession 4-4-2 at times. It was handy, by the way, that Maguire and Martinez were back from injury, because I think those two are now still showing that they've got a future at the football club.
It's come at a good time for them. Matt, back with you. Let's concentrate in the bottom half of the Premier League, where your club very much resides.
Yeah, thanks for reminding us, Jim. Half-time in the West Ham game, it was panic stations, wasn't it? But always like Chelsea, never said a bad word about them. Thank God they come back and got the win and kept West Ham down there. Forest Palace, I'm not sure a draw is much help for either club, but what it has done, it set up a monster game on Friday night at Ellen Road, Leeds versus Forest, Jim, which, I can't see that ending in a draw. One of those sides will be on 29 points, with Palace going away to Brighton and Spurs playing the informed Man United. I think Leeds or Forest will be on 29 points come Saturday morning. So, I'm thinking, all right, the table might say, and the odds might say that there's 3 teams for that last relegation spot. I still think Spurs and Palace can be really dragged into this, especially given...
You're hoping they can be dragged into it, Matt?
Very, very much so, Martin. I'm trying to be an optimist, mate. I'm trying to see the silver lining, but I think Leeds are 6-1 to go down. Forest are 13-2. Palace bigger at 9-1, and Spurs even bigger at 16. But I just think one of those teams could get to 29. That puts pressure on Palace, who do not have an easy game away at Brighton, given it's a derby. And Spurs have got to go away to Man U, who have maybe turned a corner.
Leeds Forest is
big game. I was going to say that, man. It's a talkSPORT exclusive on Friday. Leeds against Forest on Friday.
The balance of probability is going to be a draw. Leeds draw most games. Forest and Leeds will probably cancel one another out in the same way that Forest and Palace just did, because either side is going to be more concerned about losing the game. A point in these sort of games, despite the fact that there's a desire to get 3, is a point gained, not necessarily 3 points lost.
Closer to home, as in tonight, it's a talkSPORT 2 exclusive. Sunderland-Burnley. What are you thinking, Matt?
Yeah, Burnley haven't got too many points on the board this season, but 3 of them were against Sunderland. They beat them 2-0 early in the season. That same scoreline tonight is 17-1, because as we know, Sunderland at the Stadium of Light are pretty handy. 3-4 to win the game, 27-10 the draw, 4-1. Big outsiders for Burnley just to win the game. I think the lad, I've worked with a Sunderland fan who's very keen on the lad Brian Brobby. I think he's scored three in his last 4. Yeah, a real handful, certainly at home as well. So I think maybe Sunderland to get the win, Brobby to score, and Kyle Walker I've looked this morning, he's been booked 7 times. So Sunderland to win and Brobby to score, Walker to get a card is 13-1, which might not be bad value, lads. I don't know how you see this one playing out tonight.
Well, from a Sunderland point of view, what you saying to me?
I was just saying they've got a special guest this evening.
Oh yeah,
I think they're going to parade Josh Kelly on the field, isn't they? Aren't they?
Lovely.
Yeah, for winning his world title.
If Xhaka is playing, then I see Sunderland winning. What alarmed me when he didn't play last week, they were awful all of a sudden. He's really important to them.
Yeah. You're right, though. Josh Kelly tonight, pre-match, that's a nice little lift for all the Sunderland fans to get right behind their team.
Nice for him as well.
And great for him. We'll talk about Josh shortly. Matt, thank you very much indeed. That was a look at the latest odds, all thanks to BetMGM. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Did you hear Ray's version this morning? Ed, have we got Ray's version of Singing Passenger? Take this in.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing. Played 38, won 26, lost exactly none.
Well, you only need the goals when they're running low. Only miss the net when the pressure grows. There's only one star boy by KO.
Saka off the bench to score. They are loving life at the Emirates.
Only know you've been high when you're feeling low. Please, Pep, leave us alone. Come on, Arteta, you've got to bring it home.
Jump on that boat because this is the way that we're going to live the next 4 months.
Please don't let it go.
Wonderful.
Wasn't that really beautiful?
I need to jump on the boat as well.
Yeah. Tickets for the unlikely pilgrimage of Harold Fry available on www.haroldfrymusical.com. You'll absolutely love this. Passengers album One for the Road will be available on all streaming platforms alongside the official video release for the album's second single, Walk Upon the Water, featuring Kingdom Choir on YouTube, and www.haroldfrymusical.com. Like we say, you've got a stunning voice, and Ray's might just be that little bit better. Don't be...
No, look, it is.
Don't be threatened.
Let's not beat around the bush.
But Arsenal fans in for a treat
Michael,
this morning.
I'd done that at 10 to 6, and I was a little bit too early.
He hadn't had his Manuka.
The practice all night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to do a little...
Look, I can try already. I've just been given these lyrics in front of me. I've got my guitar.
Ray, you have to get involved as well. It's the duo I never knew I needed.
I'll say the go bit at the end.
Go for it, yeah. Go!
Where you only need the goals when they're running low. Only miss the net when the pressure grows. There's only one star boy, Bakayo. Only know you've been high when you're feeling low. Please, Pep, leave us alone. Come on, Arteta.
It is indeed. We'll talk Chelsea in a second under Liam Rosenior. Let's talk transfers. Here's Ben.
Yeah, lots happening. So Sverre Nypan has returned to Manchester City from his loan spell at Middlesbrough, and he'll be part of the first team squad. He'll wear the number 41. Genoa are exploring a deal to try and sign Nathan Pattinson from Everton. It will be a loan, but it's contingent on Brooke Norton-Cuffy, ex-Arsenal and Chelsea Academy product going somewhere, and a permanent sale is what Genoa are looking for there. There was actually Premier League interest, but also some Italian clubs too, and 15 million is the price tag as far as Brooke Norton-Cuffy is concerned. Stoke City have agreed a deal with Crystal Palace to sign Jerison Raksaki on loan. Panathinaikos have signed Musa Sissoko from Watford as well. And Tyreek George is on his way to Everton for a medical ahead of a loan from Chelsea that will also include an option to buy. Mamadou Sarr is coming back from Strasbourg to Chelsea. David Datra Fofana, the striker, has gone from Chelsea to Strasbourg. And maybe the big story of this lunchtime or early afternoon is going to be Jean-Philippe Mateta. Are Milan going to proceed? Palace have got Jurgen Strand-Larsen lined up as well. So lots happening at the moment as we head towards the final few hours of the transfer window.
Okay, Ben, thank you very much indeed. Ben Jacobs up early and on the breakfast show. Now with us, Alex Croot will be throughout the afternoon on talkSPORT, bringing you the very latest, and then will join me from 6ish onwards. The deadline itself, of course, 7 o'clock tonight. And for the second time in a week, Chelsea came from behind to take all 3 points. First at Napoli in the Champions League and then at home to West Ham. West Ham were 2 up. Chelsea beat them by 3-2. And there was a bit of a scrap at the end of that game, was there not? You don't want to get in a scrap with Adama Traore. But that's another matter. But here's the thing. What makes you more tactically masterful? Having the ability to change or getting it right to begin with. On each occasion, Liam Rosenior rang the changes, and it worked in his and Chelsea's favour. This was Rosenior on that very fact post-match.
It's on me. I hope in time they'll say it was the best decision this club's ever made. But I can't focus on that. This is a really proud club with incredible tradition, history, recent history of winning trophies. They want that, and I want that too. So for a start, for a manager to come in midway through a season with not many sessions and have 6 wins out of 7 games, it's not a bad way to start. As long as the team show the fight and the energy and the intensity that they did in that second half, the fans showed that they'll be with us and they'll support us, and I'm really enjoying being part of this football club.
Simon, you know Liam. I know him, and he's been very helpful to this show, I have to say. Before he got to Chelsea, in his other positions, and I noticed at one stage over the weekend, I don't know if it was an oldish quote, but he says, "No, I'm good at what I do. I'm good at what I do." Yeah. Are you putting this down to Liam being tactically masterful? No. Or should the cynics be right and think, well, Liam, why didn't you get it right before kick-off?
Well, I mean, he set up Chelsea to go to match up Napoli in the game in the midweek, and it didn't work, so he changed it. He changed Chelsea to rest players from the weekend and put in a perfectly adequate group of players that should have been able to deal with West Ham in the first half that didn't perform. So he brought back the core principles of his team, which were other players that he'd left on the bench, perhaps that had produced big performances against Napoli in the middle of the week, and brought them back into the side, and ultimately the outcome was given. But if you look at the starting lineup, there's some big names in that side that should be more than capable of dealing with the relegation threatened West Ham. So that's as much upon the players as it is the coach. The fact that he doesn't blink, the fact that he's got the propensity to change things, is what a good coach should do. His attitude is the problem for Liam is it's seeded in certain sections of the football fraternity, whether it be the football media, football fans, or football punditry, or football orthodoxy. Is he doesn't merit the job. How's he got the job? Why has he got the job? Chelsea's one of the biggest jobs in world football with an enormous amount of backing behind it. Why has Liam Rosenior got the job? And until they get past that, until he drags them past that by keep winning football matches and ultimately delivering something to Chelsea, he will have that thrown at him one way or another, whether it's the way that he speaks, the deference that he shows, the clothes that he wears, or the teams that he set up. That is the principle behind the thinking which is after him at this moment in time, and there might be some merit in it. He has to answer that question. Managing Hull and managing Strasbourg to 7th in the Ligue 1 is not a precursor to managing a club that spends hundreds of millions of pounds on players.
It's an internal appointment, Simon, isn't it?
Oh,
really?
I agree.
But
I'm
nonetheless, he is doing a very good job, Jim. 6 wins from 7. He rescued things. I think what he tried to do, obviously, they won the Club World Cup. They're the holders of that competition, and there was we talk about rest for players. He was trying to do that, Jim. He was trying to manage the minutes. They were in Napoli midweek. That takes a great deal out of you. Easier for West Ham, obviously. They got out of the blocks quickly. Cucurella had to come on and rescue things half-time. That left-hand side of Chelsea. One thing it will show him, though, is that he's the squad, and they have been huge in the transfer market since the new ownership come in. I don't think the players, the 11 that don't play, it's not a good fit what comes in, Jim. There's 1 or 2 there showed that he's going to have to, as often as he can, pick his best 11, and then you're seeing a real performance.
Contextually, you also, without wanting to be mean-spirited, because I want him to be successful, because I like him. I think he's a bright lad. I think he's got a good future, and I think he understands how to work upwards. A lot of managers get themselves into a position, they get authoritative in their views, and then they suddenly forget who they work for, and they forget to manage up. They want the players to work their relationship with them, but they don't want to work their relationship with the people that they work for. So I like that about him, and I hope he doesn't change that. But if you look at the results that he's got, he should beat Charlton in an FA Cup. They did get beat by Arsenal. They should really beat Brentford at home. They should beat a Paphos side in the Champions League. They should beat a poor out-of-form Crystal Palace side when they beat them. And they should beat West Ham. Now, when Liam starts coming up, and Napoli, by the way, despite the fact they haven't been beaten at home for some time, are not the same Napoli from a couple of years ago.
Well, I wonder what we can do in the Carabao Cup semi-final.
Should they beat Arsenal next?
No, I was going to say.
No, I don't think they should, and no, I don't think they will. And then, so when you start pitching Chelsea against the teams that one would expect them to be either knocking on their door or having a go at them, this is where Liam will then get judged.
He'll see this as one of the games.
What do you both make of this, though?
Well, if he's got the chops.
What do you both make of this, though? When discussing recruitment and transfers, Liam Senior says he's delighted to be a head coach rather than a manager. And he believes the sporting department, led by Winstanley and Stewart, employs the best people in world football. He goes on to say, that's the beauty of being a head coach. I'm not an old school manager that's got out the phone and is making calls. I've got the best people, I think, in world football working on those things. I probably see the last 2% of the work they do, which allows me to focus on what I need to focus on, the team, the performance.
Yeah, but it's one step.
In other words, transfers, recruitment. Over to you guys.
Yeah, of course. There's a catalogue of things, but that's one step at a time. He's come in, he's trying to stitch information. Obviously, someone who gives lots of information to the team, the way that he wants to play, how he creates that extra player in midfield. But if he's an ambitious individual and a successful type individual, he'll need to have 1 foot in who we're buying. Because he obviously wants that to relate to the team, because it's been left to other people up to now. And the guys who came in at the weekend weren't quite at the level. So what, is they too young? Are they not fitting the right profile? Will he be able to change? There's all these young players. I'm not sure that's the right mix for Chelsea going forward. So one assumes he's going to be saying all these things.
Interesting, and that's right. And I think there's a lot of the fact that Liam is a manager of a certain level at this moment in time in terms of where he's managed before. So stepping into Chelsea is a massive step up for him, and he knows it. So he will be deferential because he's not built in a sense of entitlement. And when we talk about managers, Maresca was the manager of Chelsea. I'm pretty sure he signed the midfielder from Leicester that's now gone out to Everton that wasn't successful. So managers are very much involved in transfers. They don't always get what they want. In this day and age, if I was a manager or a coach, which is ostensibly what you are, you're a coach with man management skills, why would you want to be involved in all the shenanigans that go on with scouting players, accounting for the purchases that you've got, being involved in the contractual negotiations? It's a load of old football rubbish.
Well, what for Fergie?
Well, that's 20 years ago. And Ferguson presided over Man United. It took him a long time to get control over a different football club at a different time. If you stuck Ferguson now in the dugout at Old Trafford, coming out of Aberdeen in 2026 rather than 1986, Ferguson will probably be complying with the new orthodoxy rather than what he did 40 years ago.
Simon, doesn't that sort of comment, though, make him look more like a puppet? Because he's basically just saying that I'm here just to pick up with any players that are put my way. It's an internal appointment.
That's what he's saying. You're right, Mark. That's what he's saying.
Yes,
does he not have to be careful with those sorts of comments?
Yeah, I think he does. But I think also, by the same token, the idea that the expertise for acquiring players for all aspects of the football club should actually lay with the sporting directors. They should be the ones that are doing all the hard yards to identify the player, from everything from his ability through to his cost. And then they should be presenting him to the manager and going, this is what we've got for you. Do you have any resistance to this? And if the manager goes, I have some absolute resistance to it, then that sporting director shouldn't be signing it unless they can convince the manager otherwise. But the manager hasn't. How many times are we told these managers are too busy? Now, all of a sudden, when they don't get what they want, they're not too busy. They want more things to be doing.
But they can't afford Chelsea to make mistakes in the transfer market in this window. If the manager has to come across the bows of the current manager, he has to be trusted, doesn't he, to take part in this decision?
His sycophancy goes a bit too far, because I think it's reasonable to assess that Paul Winstanley and his little mate are not the best in the world. Right? So,
probably not.
So we need to be careful about that sort of thing.
They at Brighton.
Yeah.
They're good. But it's a stretch to say that
they're not the best people in world football.
They're
that's
not.
for sure.
No.
I don't think so.
So get that balance right.
But we know where you're going with it. We know where we're going now. 12 noon, and we're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
This is Robbie Williams with Angels.
I sit and wait. Does an angel contemplate my fate? Or do they know the places where we go when we're graying old? 'Cause I've been told that salvation lets their wings unfold. So when I'm lying in my bed, thoughts running through my head, and I feel that love is dead. In your cars, on the buses, I'm loving angels instead. Everybody, and through it all. Whether I'm right or wrong, and down the waterfall, wherever it may take me, I know that life won't break me. When I come to call, she won't forsake me. I'm loving angels instead. When I'm feeling weak and my pain walks down the one-way street, I look above.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, supporting van owners to get the job done. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 3 minutes past 12, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. We're still waiting on deadline day news around Jean-Philippe Mateta's move to AC Milan. Here's Ben Jacobs.
Crystal Palace have not heard, and they are planning to still sign Jorgen Strand-Larsen. But Milan are going to make a decision, I'm told, on Jean-Philippe Mateta, potentially within the next hour.
Meanwhile, former Palace owner Simon Jordan doesn't rate Jorgen Strand-Larsen as a £48 million striker, and he's questioned the current hierarchy's transfer strategy.
Palace don't spend money. and they certainly don't spend money to back their managers. So the prudency of the situation can't be anything other than they've considered all the options and must feel there's a necessity to buy the centre forwards. Because I can tell you something: if they were buying centre forwards in the summer and buying centre halves in the summer, they might not have had the problems they have with Glasner.
Palace are also trying to sign a centre-back. They've had bids rejected for Chelsea's Josh Achimpong and Brugge's Joel Ordonez. We understand Brentford have offered Ethan Pinnock to Palace. Elsewhere, Chelsea's Tyreek George is on his way to Everton. That's for a medical. They're exploring a loan with an option to buy. Wrexham are in talks to sign Barnsley striker Davis Keylor-Dunn. And keep an eye on Arsenal. They could make a late move for midfielder following Mikel Merino's suspected broken foot. All the latest transfer news at talksport.com. Meanwhile, Martin Keown's given White and Jordan his reaction to Paul Scholes' comments that Arsenal could be the worst team to win the title.
Look, I love Paul, but, this is like one of his comments, is like one of his tackles, isn't it? It's waist high.
And Josh Butler is backing his successor Harry Brook to stay on as England white ball captain. Brook says he lied about a New Zealand nightclub incident ahead of the Ashes to protect his teammates. There's more on all this at TalkSport's cricket YouTube channel.
TalkSport News.
An investigator told us he has evidence of Lord Mandelson illegally sending Jeffrey Epstein government documents, and there are calls for London's police to act after a second woman claims she was paid to have sex with the former Prince Andrew. More from the news team at past.
TalkSport weather with QuickFit, where we've got more premium tyres than the number of times you'll hear, "Ooh, it's a bit nippy this winter." Book today at quickfit.com.
Cloudy with outbreaks of light rain and drizzle for most of us. Rain heavier in the northeast, turning breezy.
Good afternoon, everybody. 6 minutes past 12 noon is Jim White and it's Arsenal Invincible Martin Keown. Simon Jordan's gone walkabout and we are live on TalkSport. This is Monday, February the 2nd. And just a reminder, transfer deadline day. We'll keep you updated throughout the afternoon, of course. Live here on TalkSport, live on your TV as well, even Prime Video. Whatever you want to watch, we are there for you with all the comings and goings in the world of transfers. I'll be back this evening at 6:30 alongside Alex Crook and Danny Murphy, and we will take you through the deadline at 7 o'clock and then beyond with all the reaction to the deals that have gone down. Will Jean-Philippe Mateta get his move to AC Milan? Will Strand Larsen end up at Crystal Palace all the way from Wolves in a £47-48 million move? All those questions will be answered in the course of the afternoon and certainly the evening. Remember, it's an earlier than usual deadline, 7 o'clock the deadline tonight, and we will be right across the lot for you on TalkSport. Simon, alongside Martin Keown, it's a good time for the boys to answer me this. Is it okay for managers to speak out but not players? Would you have said something like this, Martin Keown, in your time as a player? Timothy Weah has been speaking. He's been speaking to a French outlet when asked about ticket prices at the forthcoming World Cup in the summer in the US of A. And Timothy Weah, who has an opinion or two, decided to give that opinion. He said, ticket prices at the World Cup is too expensive, says Timothy. Football should still be enjoyed by everyone. It's the most popular sport. This World Cup will be good, but it'll be a bit more of a show. I'm just a bit disappointed by the ticket prices, though. Lots of real fans will miss matches. So you think, that's pretty well said, Timothy. But then, enter the scene USA manager Mauricio Pochettino, Timothy Weah's manager. And Mauricio Pochettino hasn't held back. And he said Weah should not involve himself in debates around ticket prices for the World Cup and should focus instead on pitch issues. And Pochettino, who I've known for years, and he's a decent man, but he's gone for it here. He says, first of all, I think the players need to talk on the pitch, play football, not outside of the pitch. It's not his duty to evaluate the price of a ticket. We're not politicians, we're sports people. We can talk about our job, but I think if FIFA does something, it's their responsibility to explain why, not ours. Our responsibility is to perform, play and perform on the pitch. Before I go to Mr. Jordan, who's looking directly at me, what do you think of his comments?
Well,
Weah's comments, first of all, Martin.
Well, look, the manager's prerogative to always be right in this situation if he feels that he doesn't want the player getting involved. Maybe the player is right, though, that the ticket prices are, as we know, Jim, absolutely ridiculous. But politically, it's probably not the best thing for Timothy Weah, Georgie Weah's son, to have said. So I think you go with the manager. That's the stance. But freedom of speech is something in America that can you say what you want in a country like that? I would have thought he would have been safe to do so, but the manager sort of cracked the whip, used it as an opportunity to show some discipline. I'm in charge, not you. He doesn't even know if he's in the squad, by the way, come the summer. So, but either one way or the other, I'm not really that bothered with it. But the manager's obviously making a point.
What do you think, Simon? Stick to football, or if you've got an opinion about a matter outside of football, then say it.
Listen, I think there's a balancing act. I mean, I think depends if you're representing yourself as a football player rather than just an individual. If you're a leading manager and you want to talk about the independence of Catalonia in example terms with Pep Guardiola, and you do it at a Manchester City function, I don't think you should be doing that, because you're there representing Manchester City. The challenge is that you will always, in people's eyes, be representing Manchester City. But by the same token, Pep Guardiola is a citizen of the world. He has an opinion about something, and he can utilise his opinion. So I have a mixed emotions about it. I don't really want them wading into subject matter, because most of the time they don't know what they're bleeding talking about, and they don't really have the courage of their convictions to stand up behind their own words.
But he's not wrong, is he? I mean, we've seen and heard of some of the prices at the World Cup for tickets in the summer, and they're exorbitant, to say the least.
Again, but I would ask the question, where does the money go? Right? Because I realise who his father is, and his father was the president of Liberia, so he probably thinks he's got a soapbox to stand upon, right? So I understand that he comes from that particular background, and I'm not suggesting that footballers aren't entitled to an opinion. If it were domestic opinion, I'd say shut your mouth, because you're the ones taking all the money out of the room in the first place. In this instance, I would suggest that the beneficiaries of the ticket pricing are FIFA, which is a not-for-profit organisation, and we know that they're not transparent, we know that they're opaque, but isn't the distribution of this money supposed to be going to grassroots football around the world?
Well, won't the FIFA delegates be going to the games in their limousines and sitting in the plus seats that they won't have had to pay for?
But there's always an element that's like saying, but that's like saying, I understand your point, and I don't disagree with it. It's like saying all the commercial sponsors that go and leave empty seats, but they're still their commercial dollars go into the business of sport.
I know, but Simon, how could we possibly object to Timothy Weah saying, I'm just a bit disappointed by the ticket prices. Lots of real fans will miss matches.
Okay, but what is it? Okay, so Mauricio Pochettino is the person that manages him, and he thinks he'd be better served making sure that his US team are the beneficiaries of his performance on the field rather than the warblings of his trap. And the fact of the matter is, it's none of his.
He's not yet letting his trap
it's
wobble.
It's none of his business. It isn't any of his business. And who's he doing?
Asked the question.
But who's he? No, was he asked a question?
He was asked a question about ticket prices.
So let me get this right.
Cup.
So let me get. Some journalist just rocked up to this football player and said, "Excuse me, by the way, forget the performance on the field. Forget you're playing on an MLS side. I want to talk to you specifically about ticket pricing." No, of course he didn't. He volunteered that information.
Jim would have done, wouldn't you, Jim?
And why? No, he wouldn't. Because where's the link? Why would you go to a footballer
mischievous
out of the clear blue sky and just say to him, "What do you think of the ticket pricing?" He would
obviously.
No,
it's part of a wider conversation that some French journalist has had with Weah.
So what's his
and
purpose?
The final point might
does he get a bonus?
Incidentally, you've probably heard, Timothy, about some of the
you know that
tickets.
these American players are, for playing for their country, are very, very well remunerated. They get paid a lot of money for playing for the national side.
And so what's that going to do?
I'm just saying he'll be the beneficiary of some of those revenues, won't he? So I'm assuming that he can give up the money that he's going to get from playing for his national side, because these sort of people are always the first one to point to other people saying, well, you should do that. But what about you then? We'll cut all the salaries in football, we'll reduce all the revenue streams for everybody else, and we'll give it back to the fans. If all the players take less money, every walk of life, everyone can have free tickets.
Pochettino's basically saying, well, look, keep your mouth shut. You're benefiting, actually, indirectly. You're benefiting from the prices of these tickets.
That stance. I'm surprised at him taking that stance.
Well,
I must admit, what's up with Pochettino saying? That's Timothy's opinion, okay, and he's quite right to have it.
And to some extent, this is an element that probably could be said.
Yeah.
But there also is a little bit of, is the player pulling up trees for the team then, is he? Is he a wonderful addition to the American team? Or is he somebody that might just be getting a little bit of attention for himself by signalling to the audience that he's a wonderful representative of the great unwashed that should be going to these games?
Southgate let his England players have opinion.
And what did they do then? They all snivelled back into their shells when it came on top, including him.
But don't you occasionally say that there's not enough personality and not enough character?
Exactly, Martin.
Simon, isn't that
good point?
Something that you,
yes,
in your entrepreneurial
no problem.
world,
Stand it up. So why is he saying it? And what is his purpose? If his purpose is that he's a man of the people, and he really does feel that all of these fans really deserve it, and he really understands where all the money goes from FIFA to all the different federations around the world that gives the opportunity for young kids in far-flung parts of the world to play on proper football fields, the ones that he enjoys the day. If he understands all that, then I'm going to listen to him. If he doesn't, put it in park.
But what is he to say now then? Does he say, actually, I don't want to go to the World Cup? Do you know what?
Well, his manager might say for him. His manager might say, you're not going, so you will have to buy a ticket.
Well, he's a man of principle.
Maybe he thinks he's not going to get picked and he has to buy a ticket to watch. And he doesn't like the pricing.
When you analyse it, poor Timothy, where his ears must be burning at the moment if he knew that we were talking about this. The tickets prices. Yeah, football should still be enjoyed by everyone. Timothy, what the hell are you talking about? I'm just a bit disappointed by the ticket prices. Well, why should you be?
But is he talking...
Lots of real fans will miss matches. So what? They deserve to.
So the next question is, do you think, Timmy, that this should extend to domestic football? Well, I do. Indeed, I do. Right, we'll cut your salary then. We'll cut all your salaries down so that the fans can have free tickets because you want them to have it.
So
power to the people, Wolfie Smith.
What are the rules? If, God forbid, you were in some senior position at the USA Football Federation, would you be saying to Pochettino, you're right to stand on Timothy?
I would just be
getting a bit ahead of himself, was he not?
Yeah,
about ticket prices?
A little bit.
Honestly,
I would say
honestly,
really what we want is the team to be focused on being footballers. I understand he's got an opinion, but if I want him to have an opinion, I'll give it to him.
But this is a once in a once in a lifetime opportunity to go to a World Cup game. We're pricing people out of it. They can't go. This is not like a club situation where you could buy a season ticket, you go to every game. This is like really expensive.
So how many people live on the planet? 7, 8, 9 billion. There's only 7 million tickets available for this tournament. This is as rare as Rocking Horse, so it comes with a price tag. And whilst I agree that in the ideal world, we should be able to make it facilitated for everybody to be able to go, it doesn't exist that way. Football, unfortunately, from players that play domestically to international federations, are centred in one thing. And what is that thing? Money.
But just to be clear, if you were Khaldun at Manchester City, you wouldn't have had a problem with Pep rocking up at a Barcelona event, as you mentioned earlier, giving a speech at a charity concert.
Was he representing Man City?
Isn't this the people's
talking about
game?
the humanitarian group, Act Palestine?
Was he
and that led to Pep not taking his pre-match conference against Spurs on Friday afternoon. Pep Linders took it. If that was a suggestion, you wouldn't have a problem if you were Khaldun about that.
But I would say
Pep, listen, welcome back. How did the speech go?
No, first and foremost, was he there representing Manchester City? Because I'm a grown-up. He's representing himself. He's allowed to have an opinion on things, right? Yeah. He operates in a public position. If he seeks to leverage football, which some would say, well, he would do because he's Pep Guardiola. No, he's also a man in his own right. He's also a very successful man that operates in the football industry. If he's not there representing Man City, then I would caution him not to create a blowback on Man City and to choose his words carefully,
right?
But to have his own opinions. Now, if he can't do a press conference on Friday, why?
Managers can have an opinion, but not players.
No, they can all have an opinion.
Yeah,
they can all have an opinion.
Oh, they can.
It's about where you wear it and how you wear it and what are the qualifications for airing it. You are a US football player.
He doesn't have an opinion. If he wants one, you'll give him yours.
He's talking about a football matter. Pep Guardiola was talking about a worldview, and we're conflating his position as a football manager.
Why does that matter?
What do you mean?
It's in a different lane, isn't it?
It's a different dynamic.
Yeah.
So Pep Guardiola is asked
Timothy
to speak...
Weir's saying quite innocently,
well,
yeah, I'm disappointed by the ticket prices.
But without centering his thinking in why the ticket pricing is that price, rather than just sit there and saying something that's easy for someone to say. Now, I agree the fact that Man City might have a blowback by Pep Guardiola because he's inextricably indexed to Manchester City. But by the same token, if he's not there representing Man City, and it doesn't mean that if he walks into a restaurant and badmouths a waiter, does that mean he's going to give bad reputation to Man City because he manages Man City? No, it doesn't. So he is entitled to have a world view. The only time he's not entitled to do it. So if he sat at a football press conference talking about Manchester City, he shouldn't then get up on his soapbox and start waving a Catalonia flag.
Right.
That's what I don't agree with. But if he's at a private function, then I think he's entitled to air his views.
Okay. But Timothy Weir, in the meantime, if you're listening, Timothy,
it's a football matter.
Don't ever have an opinion again before this World Cup unless it's got to do with something on the pitch. We do not want to hear that you're disappointed by ticket prices. Lots of real fans will miss matches. Timothy, cut that out.
Back of the queue.
Simon says, when it comes to opinion, it's his and his only, Timothy. You got it?
will be an underwhelming Premier League title.
It won't be.
I think it will be.
For Arsenal. If they win the title for the first time in 22
they won't care.
years, they will not
No,
care.
they won't care.
But,
But everyone else will.
Done. Well, yeah, last year he was giving Liverpool stick for the way they went about.
And I've been proved right when you look at them this year.
They still won the league.
It wasn't a great Premier League
but
last year.
They still won the league.
Liverpool can't. That Liverpool team. That's what I said at the time. It was in March. We're at the Cheltenham Festival. I got a lot of stick from Liverpool fans, but I stand by it. You can't talk about the Liverpool team that won the league last year in the same breath as Manchester City's treble winners, United's treble winners, Jose's Chelsea, Arsenal's invincible.
But it was the first season in their development. It's like this season for Arsenal. This is the first season that they're going to put some silverware on the board. So you don't just automatically put them into a bracket with some of the greatest teams that have ever graced the Premier League. That happens over a longer period of time. It may well be that after that, they had to rejig. They surprised themselves by winning the title last year. They had to rejig. They had to rebuild for the future. It may be that they come again.
Well, it's a different story with Arsenal. They've been building up to this moment. And I think that's why Gabby says, not to their fans, but maybe to the rest of us, if they are only going to score 69 goals, you've said maybe it is a little bit underwhelming. And I love Theo Walcott, but I can't believe he even asked the question on television. Would this Arsenal team beat the United team of 2008? Absolutely no chance.
It is a little odd, though, having come close 2 seasons ago with an attacking approach, a creative approach, that Arsenal have gone in such a different direction, in such a quick sort of turnaround of time. They're less willing to take risks now. Who's responsible for that? Why have they decided?
Happy deadline day, Jim White. Thanks very much indeed to Wolf and Rupert, who were at their first ever Swansea game together. Watford at the weekend, they saw their team win. Well done to them and Dad John. Alex Crook is with me here. Alex and I will take you through the deadline tonight at 7 o'clock alongside Danny Murphy. Transfer deadline day. Where are we going with it, Alex, at this stage?
Well, I think the big talking point is going to be Jean-Philippe Mateta, and if this move to AC Milan actually goes ahead. We know that he started a medical in London yesterday. Milan have flown over their own doctor to undergo further tests on a suspect knee issue. At the moment, they've not gone back to Crystal Palace and said the deal is in doubt or they're trying to knock down the fee. But obviously that there could be a knock-on effect there because Palace have agreed a deal for Jorgen Strand Larsen, a club record transfer. He's completed his medical, so presumably is waiting to sign on the dotted line. Wolves are looking to bring in Adam Armstrong from Southampton for a £9 million fee. So maybe the dominoes need to fall in line. I think Crystal Palace are trying to be busy on deadline day, Simon's old club. They're looking to replace Mark Guéhi. They've had a bid rejected by Chelsea for Josh Achiampong. He's not going anywhere on this deadline day. Club Brugge centre-back Joel Ordenez is another player that Palace have tried and failed for. I know they've been offered Brentford's Ethan Pinnock. We'll see if that one develops over the course of the afternoon. And Nottingham Forest trying to get in a central midfielder. They've had a bid rejected for your man Engels at Celtic. Martin O'Neill doesn't want to let him go on this deadline day. And they've also had an approach for Hayden Hackney at Middlesbrough rebuffed. He's staying at least until the end of the season.
And was that 17 million for Engels? And Celtic said no.
Big money. But I guess the situation that Celtic are in, they've obviously got European football in the second half of the season.
They believe they can reel Hearts in at the top of the table. I think there'd be uproar, wouldn't there, amongst the Celtic fans and our mate Martin O'Neill if they sanction that deal?
I think so. We might hear from Martin later on tonight, but I'll rejoin Alex later on. You'll hear from Alex throughout the afternoon, of course, right here on talkSPORT with the latest on this transfer deadline day. It was a big day in the world of tennis yesterday. I was up early to watch the final of the Australian Open between Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz, and it was a youngster who defeated the veteran, if you like, Novak Djokovic. Djokovic, of course, going for an incredible number of Grand Slam titles, but Alcaraz became only the 9th man to win all 4 Grand Slam tournaments: the French Open, Wimbledon, US Open, and now the Australian Open. And honestly, it propels him into a stratosphere that very few tennis players end up in. I'm delighted to say top tennis broadcaster Marcus Buckland joins us live. Marcus, good afternoon to you, mate. What about Alcaraz? Does it feel like the closing of one era and the opening of another?
Quite possibly, Jim. I mean, the records are extraordinary. The stats are remarkable. He's not going to be 23 until the 5th of May. He's now won 7 Grand Slam titles. He's only been in 8 finals. He's only competed in 13 Grand Slam events. He's won more than half of them. So he's definitely the future. We've known that for some time alongside Yannick Sinner. But I don't want to write off Novak Djokovic just yet. The guy made another final, for heaven's sake. I know he's 38. Interesting quotes from him afterwards saying, who knows what's going to happen tomorrow, never mind in 6 months or a year. But he's still knocking on the door. He needs a little bit of good fortune. I mean, he beat Sinner on Friday, but to beat both of them in the space of 48 hours is asking a lot. There's still a chance, though, that one of them might get injured. One of them might go out early at the French or at Wimbledon or at the US Open. So, yeah, the future is all about Alcaraz. One other extraordinary stat, Jim, by the age of 23, Novak Djokovic had won just 1 Grand Slam title. He's got on to get 24, of course. And here is Alcaraz with 7 already. So goodness knows what he might go on to achieve.
It is incredible, isn't it? Simon's alongside me, Marcus. So too Martin Keown. I mean, Simon, as Marcus is outlining, Alcaraz, yeah, the headline, but Djokovic is still a big part of this story.
Sure. I mean, I don't think Djokovic wins another slam unless there is a depleted or injured Sinner or Alcaraz. I think there are other players that are coming inside the top 10. I think if Jack Draper can get some variety in his game with Jamie Delgado coaching him, I think he can challenge these 2 guys. But even on a good day, I think he's going to be pushed to get anything from them. I think Djokovic is remarkable. Obviously, he came a little bit later than, say, Federer and Nadal. It'd be interesting to see what stage Federer and Nadal were at the age of 23. What you don't want is a be-on-ball situation where you've got a player that blades so brightly and then gets fed up with tennis at 25 years of age. You don't want that, so you never know what's going to happen with him. But as a player, as a talent, I remember watching him a couple of years ago in the Wimbledon semi-final against Medvedev, and it literally was Medvedev on the court, wringing his hands, tearing his hair up because this kid was just on a different level. And this was a player that was in the top 5 at the time.
Yeah. I'm interested, Marcus, to get your views on the women aspect of the game. I noticed that in a bid to get more jeopardy into the women's game, the Australian Open organisers have pitched the idea of women having to play the best of 5 set matches at future tournaments from the quarterfinals onwards. Where are we going with this?
Well, I you know, you very kindly had Roger Taylor and I on a few months ago when we were promoting his autobiography, and that's something that he suggested in his book. I mean, you come to the final weekends, and I mean, the 2 semi-finals that the men played on Friday were extraordinary. The women's event, I think we've got to be honest, actually, the event in general was not great up until the men's semi-final and final. I'm all for seeing the women play the best of 5 sets. It gives both players in a match an opportunity to come back from a slow start to turn what could be a really disappointing spectacle into something special. And listen, you know, if it's one-sided, it doesn't make that much difference. It's one more set. You know, in this age of equality as well, I do think that all players, male and female, should play exactly the same number of sets. And Roger's suggestion, which I backed, he said actually in the first week, up until the 4th round, make the men and the women play 3-set matches. So those who get through to the second week are that much fresher. And then when there are less matches to schedule, so it's not an issue for the organisers, make both the men's and the women's best of 5. And I would support that.
Marcus, is there the Australian Open, is it the wrong place to showcase that with the temperatures that their players were playing in last week? And then, of course, you're introducing something new to the women's game, to a 5-setter. Would that be exactly the wrong place? Oh,
listen, Martin, no, you're right. I mean, the conditions are horrendous, but they can be horrendous all over the world. You can get it at well, not so much in Paris, but I have seen some very hot days there. Wimbledon, obviously, you've got the roof if necessary to help things out. New York could be horrendous. If you're going to do it, you're going to have to do it. You can't just say, well, we won't do it in Australia because it's a bit hot. You've got to make a universal change. And I do feel, and I think a lot of the women would support this, in actual fact. I mean, if you look back at Billie Jean King, Martina Navratilova, they're all quoted as saying they'd be up for it because it would give their game more of an opportunity to showcase the talents. So I'm not quite sure, actually, why it doesn't happen. I know why it won't happen over the full 2 weeks, because you just couldn't get the matches in time. But in the second week, when there are less matches, it's doable.
It's doable, Simon, is it?
Elongated.
I've always been in that camp. I've always been, when the argument comes about financial parity, there has to be some financial parity between the sexes, but then there should be a workload parity as well. If you want the same money as the men, you should pay the same amount of sets as the men do. I think you're only playing against the physicality that represents the sport that you're in, i.e. the women are playing against the women. I was pushed, last year it was, and I learned that it was primarily because of scheduling and broadcast scheduling and court utilisation. Maybe build some more courts at the slams then. I don't know. But the fact is that it's only really the slams that we're talking about, because in a lot of the tournaments, the men's tournaments are not playing 5 sets. So in this instance, I would like to see women's tennis.
Well, maybe that's a vision for Wimbledon, because they're building more courts there.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, the two semi-finals combined lasted 2 hours and 56 minutes, considerably shorter than the combined duration of 9 hours and 36 minutes for the two men's semi-finals. That is the difference. Marcus Buckland, thank you so much. And Alcaraz came out on top. It's 12:30.
The only problem I have with him, he done it again on the weekend against Arsenal. He played a pass to Mbumo, and he was at fault for a poor pass. And he's thrown his arms up at Mbumo, and then Mbumo's actually giving him some back of like, come on, as a player, you don't players throwing your arm.
Why is that wrong? That happens all the time.
But as a player, having played it at the game, anybody throws your arms up at you, you always have, you don't like it. Ask any players playing now, you don't like it. That's what he let himself down at. Garnacho copied him.
Don't compare Garnacho to Bruno Fernandes.
I'm saying he copied him, I'm not comparing him. I'm saying he copied. It's not a good example when you're throwing your arms up at your teammates. What he does on the pitch, his performances, outstanding.
That because he's from a different culture, from a different sort of upbringing, and
it's
he's
a
got
Portuguese mentality.
Demeanour. He has, if you look at Jose Mourinho and the way he conducts himself, it's different to the way that Michael Carrick conducts himself, because they're brought up in different cultures. And if you're going to have the World League, which
who else do you see do it?
Loads of players do it. Go watch Spanish football.
No, in the Premier League.
Yeah, but that's the point, Sam. I spend a lot of time in Portugal, as you know, and they are that sort of mentality. They are an expressive population. So I think that's why it stands
does
out.
it quite a lot, doesn't he? He gets the
but also just
up in the air.
Graham Souness is going back to a different world, really. I don't want to say prehistoric views, but they don't make captains now like they did in his day. I've got a list of Premier League captains here. I bet you can't tell me who the captain of Fulham and Manchester City is. You were looking at my screen. Tell me who the captain of Manchester City is officially.
Manchester City, is it Bernardo Silva?
Yeah, but is he? He's not an old school Roy Keane.
He's another one who's quite
John
demonstrative,
Terry
similar
captain.
sort of thing, which shows you that it might well be a Portuguese.
Who's the captain of Fulham?
Fulham is it Kenny?
Yeah, but again,
another quick one.
You've been looking over my
I
screen.
I haven't looked at your screen.
But you get my point.
He's the club captain, isn't he?
Yeah, but if you look, Reece James is the Chelsea captain. Again, he's not a captain.
Premier League teams have got a load of crazy nicknames. Ever wondered where they came from? Some are pretty straightforward. Arsenal are the Gunners because they were founded by a group of munitions workers, and Bournemouth are the Cherries because their old stadium was built right next to a cherry orchard. Then there's Everton. They're dubbed the Toffees, but why? Well, because when the club was formed, just down the road there were 2 local toffee shops. Ipswich Town nicked their nickname off their opponents in the late 90s, Birmingham. The term Tractor Boys was chanted as a way to tease the team about their farming background, but they started using it themselves as a way to cheer on the team in victory instead. Take that, Birmingham. Let's head to Leicester, famous for more than just a red, well, orangey cheese and Jamie Vardy. Leicestershire's also the birthplace of fox hunting, hence the Foxes. Crystal Palace's nickname came from an extreme makeover. They were having a nightmare run in the 70s, and when they were relegated, their manager, Malcolm Allison, wasn't having it. I know what'll make us better, he thought, a new nickname. The Strong and Deadly Eagle sounded like a pretty good bet. And there's more to that story. Brighton used Palace's nickname to inspire their own. Ooh, bird, they thought. Let's just pick a different one for us. And so, in a heated match between the two teams back in 1976, when Palace fans began chanting "Eagles, Eagles," Brighton fans had the perfect reply: "Seagulls, Seagulls." So next time the away end's chanting their crazy nickname, you'll now know exactly where it came from.
To South Africa with the Barmy Army on talkSPORT.
Well, that's right. We're giving away a week for 2 at the 2027 New Year's Test in Cape Town. You'll secure 2 places with the official Barmy Army, putting you in the heart of the atmosphere for every day of the match at one of the world's most iconic cricket grounds. Flights, hotel, spending money. The countdown's on. You've only got till Friday to enter, though. Listen up. Here's how you can do it. Your chance to win. Text WIN, WIN, to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or the number to call 0343 418 7260. Lines close this Friday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full terms, conditions at talksport.com. So for your chance to win, text WIN to 83338 right now. I'll be back this evening, of course, from around 6:30 with Alex Crook. We'll take you through the deadline, transfer deadline day. We'll take you through a deadline at 7. Just a reminder, the deadline in Scotland is 11. So still plenty of time for Danny Rowe, for Derek McInnes at Hearts, for Martin O'Neill to get deals done, should they wish. Or should their boardrooms wish? One big headline story came out at the weekend in the world of boxing. Simon mentioned it earlier on today. Britain's Josh Kelly outpointed Bakram Murtazaliev to win the IBF light middleweight title over in Newcastle. Kelly took victory with one judge marking the bout 115-111 in his favour, and another one 114-113. The third calling it a 113-113 draw. In any case, the 31-year-old from Sunderland is the world's first champion of the world to come from that part of the world. And Josh Kelly, not unsurprisingly, was thrilled.
I started what round it was. He was at round 11. And I remember thinking, right. And it was a time when he was coming around the ropes. And I had this vision, like out-of-body experience, seeing me and him there doing it. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. So I just was like, I even said it I think I even said it under my breath. I've got deja vu. In the 11th round, I was thinking, what am I doing? And then I knew someone was there, was just working in a different way. And listen, God's great, so yeah, and now I've got this.
Well, God is great. It was good for him. 31-year-old is Sunderland's first world champion. Adi Oladipo, talkSPORT fight pundit and DAZN host, joins us all live this lunchtime. How good was Kelly, Adi?
Very good, gents. Great to hear from you, Jim, Simon, Martin. It was a good performance. I was there, I was ringside. It was a surprise performance. I think a lot of people looked at Bakram as maybe the boogeyman of that division. He struggled to get fights since he destroyed Tim Tszyu in 2024, and everyone maybe looked at this as a bridge too far for Josh Kelly. Look, we all know how exceptional a boxer he is, but could he keep this up for 12 rounds? And he got caught in the 9th, didn't he? He got put down and he kind of felt like it was starting to unravel. And then he just found another gear. He found something that was really loud up there in the Northeast. They don't get many big fights. And I think they kind of started to kind of realize he might be struggling. They kind of started to get on their feet and make a noise. And I think they got him through the last couple of rounds. Them and Adam Booth, who deserves a lot of credit. I mean, he's worked a lot on Josh Kelly, not just in the boxing ring, but outside of it as well, mentally, just making sure he's on point. And I think it all just came together on Saturday night.
I mean, Simon, déjà vu or not, he got the result that everybody was hoping he would.
Yeah, he did. I mean, I spent some time with Josh, ironically, on a paddle tennis court. He was so confident. They were so confident, him and Adam. They weren't just believing, they were absolutely unequivocal in their belief. Josh felt that he had the power. He wasn't concerned about his power. I think in the fight, he got caught in the 9th. He got caught high on the head, which disorientated him, but he had the wherewithal to get his feet back underneath him and then go through 10, 11, 12. Listen, I thought Tony Belly made some interesting observations. I thought Addy's comparing and running of the show was brilliant on Saturday. Tony was sort of pivoting from one end of the extreme to the other. I don't think he ran. I think what he did was he boxed the head off this guy. This guy was all menace with not a lot of quality at times. The quality work, the quality shots predominantly were Josh's. And yes, he had to move. Yes, he had to use the attributes because the guy is a big hitter. He's sort of perceived to be a shrunken down Beterbiev. But he's not as good as Beterbiev. And Josh Kelly exposed him at times. And now what will happen with Josh is I think he'll bloom and blossom. I don't really want to see him in with Boots Ennis as his first fight. But I'm so pleased for him because you'll not meet a nicer lad.
So where next for him then, Addy?
He's got options. The 154-pound division is arguably the thickest division in terms of talent. So hopefully, look, I'm with Simon. I don't want to see it be Boots Ennis next. I hear there is talk about a contract being signed to fight Boots. He could bring anyone to the Northeast. I mean, I think there are 8,000 or 9,000 packed into the Utd Arena. And they've been begging for a world champion up there. They've not had one since Stuart Hall, a Darlington lad back in 2013. So anyone they get up there, there's a kid called Xander Zayas in America who's the other champion. There's a lot of talk of maybe bringing him over or maybe Josh going to America. Conor Benn name has been mentioned. He's been linked with Josh Kelly before at 147 pounds. This could be the weight that makes sense for Conor coming down from the Eubank fight. So one thing he's got is options, and he won't be short of a dance partner in the summer.
Interesting. Let's hope so. Josh is going to be at the Stadium of Light tonight ahead of Sunderland's match at home against Burnley. And then he and his trainer Adam Booth will be in studio with Simon and myself this Thursday during the boxing hour, along with Spencer Oliver. Elsewhere, the American Shakur Stevenson dominated Teofimo Lopez to secure the WBO light welterweight belt by unanimous decision at Madison Square Garden. And now the question is, what are we heading for? Shakur Stevenson, Conor Benn. Is that next? Well, there were some capers afterwards with Benn and Stevenson in the ring.
Hey, Conor Benn, we can get it banging, boy. We can get it banging, boy. I want that same rehydration clause that you put on Eubank Jr., and I want to fight.
You're too small for me, bro. You're too small for me.
I'm a dog.
You're tiny. You're tiny, bro.
I'm a dog. My skills is too much.
You can't punch.
Okay.
You can't keep me off you.
Okay.
I'll rough you up.
We gonna see.
I'll pull you down. I'll
Sign the contract. Sign the contract. Let's make it happen.
Hey, Turkey, let's get this fight done. We can do it next.
Yeah, you don't scare me.
You think I'm scared of you? You think I'm scared of you? You think I'm scared of you?
And on it went. Are we going to get that, do you think, Addy?
I don't know. Like, I love it. If I'm Conor Benn and the champion calls me out, rightly so, I'm going to get off my seat and get in the ring. I think there's a few people upset about Conor Benn getting in the ring. You should get in the ring. I hate when fighters stay outside the ring when they're being called to get in the ring. Look, it's a tough fight for Conor. If it were to happen, I mean, Shakur Stevenson would be a favourite. He's a supreme boxer, one of the best boxers in the world right now. But Conor Benn's trying to make his name in America, and the big names are calling him out. He's a big name. He puts bums on seats. Everyone knows who he is. But, Shakur Stevenson really is a 135-pounder. Conor Benn, we don't really know what weight he is, but let's say he's 147. I think Conor Benn's got a few big 147 fights out there for him. Maybe Ryan Garcia, maybe Rolly Romero. But I like the call out from Shakur Stevenson. He knows it's a big money fight. He might look at it as an easy fight. And I don't mind the idea of those two getting it on at 147 pounds.
There are a few messages coming in off the back of that ring to and fro. Conor Benn would be embarrassed if he was facing Shakur Stevenson. Simon, do you go with that?
I think Shakur Stevenson is a sublime performer. I didn't much enjoy the performance against Teofimo Lopez, not because of Shakur Stevenson's superiority, because it wasn't much of a fight.
Yeah,
and the fact that I tipped Teofimo Lopez, I enjoyed even less. I don't listen. Conor Benn doing his best Dennis Rodman impression. I don't think he's in that class. I don't think he can fight. I think it's ridiculous calling out a 135 fighter that's just stepped up at 140 and beaten Teofimo Lopez into a conversation. But it's great publicity for Conor. I'd like to see Conor get in the ring and fight people like Lewis Crocker, or get in the ring and fight people like Josh Kelly, rather than autograph hunting. But listen, this is the currency he's got right now.
Of course. Addy, before you go, you ever seen scenes like it on the undercard over in the States? Jarrell Big Baby Miller, when his hairpiece was dislodged during his heavyweight win over Kingsley Ibby. I mean, have you ever heard anything like that? Talk about keep your hair on. Well, he couldn't. And his hairpiece is dislodged. There it goes.
Oh,
it opens up like a bit. He must have stood in his foot. It was like a pedal bin.
I'm embarrassed for him. And the worst thing is, in these shots here, you can see him knowing it's gone, and he's trying to pull it back down. And I'm like, oh, what are you doing? Just let it go, lads. I'm a bald head man. It's okay. It's okay to have no hair. I've not seen
Maybe he should
like
stop taking PEDs and start taking Regain.
It needs a lot more to grow that hairpiece back, but no, embarrassing. But look, his performance wasn't great either. I mean, I think he's lucky we're talking about the hairpiece. His performance against eBay, who's a third-rate heavyweight, wasn't great, and he was lucky to win. But yeah, it's shocking.
It's like a pedal bit, isn't it?
It's the worst thing I've seen in a ring for a long time. We've seen a few females have to cut their hair during fights.
Yes.
And I think Paulie Malignaggi did it against Ricky Hatton, didn't he? Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that.
A wig come off mid-fight like this.
Oh, Addy, it's a good advert for Loctite, isn't it? Get it stuck down before you go on next.
Speaking from experience.
Wonderful. Hair-raising experience. And I am indeed speaking from experience. Addy, thank you so much. 10-1.
I've got to say, though, I mean, I am with Dino on this one, really, as opposed to yourself, Jay. But I think Thomas Frank should be given Tom. I think the trouble is, you see, it's too easy to sort of say, oh, we're not doing well, sack the manager, right? He's only been in the job 6 months. Let's be frank here, right? I'm going to spell it out for the other fans, right? They're listening to your glorious channel, right? We finished 17th in the league. He has not taken over a team that finished in the top 4. We qualified the Champions League because we won that trophy.
Yeah, we won the Europa League and we had a load of injuries and we sacked off the Premier League at the end of last season. So, yeah, I know we finished 17th and it wasn't good enough. I get that. But there needed to be a massive improvement. With the players that we've got, we shouldn't be where we are in the table. You can't... The performances, Chris, are not acceptable in the Premier League. That's your bread and butter. And look, we're a great side in the Champions League and we're a joy to watch. But that's got to go into the Premier League performances.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, look, we should have done better against Burnley. There's no question about that. But I do think
And
as well.
West Ham.
Again, this is where with Dino in this one, right? The thing is, I don't think it's all Thomas Frank's fault, right? We need, right, and the thing is, look, this is a hangover from the old boardroom that were there, right? We did not push the boat out enough for signings, right? I mean, we've got a lot of average players in that team, right? I mean, apart from Van der Ven, Porro, and maybe Kulusevski,
Romero.
they are bang average. Romero as well. They're bang average players, Jay.
Kulusevski ain't.
Kulusevski's, I think he's a great player.
Xavi Simmons is
Solanke's
starting to show
really
some
good
signs of
striker.
being a top player.
Is Richarlison injured?
Richarlison's injured. Solanke's come back. Solanke, again, jury's out for me on him, but he is a good player. When we signed him, I was happy that we signed him.
Well, he's 60 million, wasn't he?
We spent a few quid on him for sure, but he had a really good season at Bournemouth. But he hasn't got going yet at Tottenham.
It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown. We're live on talkSPORT. Three's become four because Alex Crook is alongside me. Alex and I will be taking you through the deadline later on this evening at 7 o'clock, transfer deadline day, of course. Mr. Crook, I will return to be on here with you at 6:30. But anyway, that is then. This is now. What have you got for us?
A little bit of news coming out of Sunderland. Simon Adingra only signed in the summer from Brighton. He scored one goal for the Black Cats. He struggled to hold down a regular place in the team. Looks like he's off to Monaco on loan initially with a buy option at the end of the season. And I think had things worked out differently at Manchester United, had Ruben Amorim still been the manager, we might have been here on deadline day talking about potential departures for Joshua Zirkzee and for Kobbie Mainoo. We know that Mainoo is staying now. He's got his place back under Michael Carrick and he's probably going to sign a new contract. I'm told Joshua Zirkzee also is not looking to leave anymore. There's been interest from Roma over in Italy and several Premier League clubs, but he seems to have been enthused by United's start to life under Michael Carrick and wants to stay and fight for his place.
Alex, terrific. I will catch up with you later on in the afternoon. Alex will be with us throughout the afternoon on talkSPORT. Want to finish on this. When it looked like they'd lose the game down at the Amex at the weekend, Everton got a point. Brighton had led for a while, 1-0, and then scored a 97th minute equaliser through substitute Beto. And then that saw David Moyes burst along the touchline and onto the pitch to celebrate with his team. He was booked as a result of that, and he wasn't happy about that.
Get booked for that? Imagine booking for celebrating. Eh? Who wants to see managers getting booked for celebrating? You know what I mean? I don't think I'd have danced down if the goal was in the 55th minute, if you know what I mean. But, it means they've got nothing about them at all. No thoughts about what football means or what it means to the managers without absolutely just saying, no, you just can't step outside that line or I'm going to book you. Sad, isn't it? Sad. You know what I mean? I'm still shaking my head. You know what I mean?
Would you do it again?
I bloody will do it again. Actually, I think if I had been a bit more mobile, I might have done a knee slide. You know what I mean? But I don't know. That would have only got me a yellow as well.
Ah, David. So he got booked, Simon. He got booked, Martin. And he was. I mean, a lot of that I think is tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Is it not?
Yeah.
I mean, if they say, okay, we'll make, in special cases you can come out your technical area. No.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, the fact that it looks like a cross between David Pleat on a mobility scooter is a problem to him.
Or David Pleat.
Yeah, but the fact is that it's the technical area is big enough for them to celebrate in. It's been made bigger than back in the day when you had managers that meant as much to them. Back in the day, you didn't see Bob Paisley doing a knee slide, did you? The fact is that if you let a manager do this, then they'll take it to the next level.
Did Mourinho not do it in midweek then?
Well,
it's a bit of emotion.
Inconsistency. No, there's nothing wrong with it. But there's no need for managers to go on a pitch at the end of a game. There's no need for managers to run on the pitch and celebrate. They've got a plenty big enough technical area. And the reasons why I say that it's not as mean-spirited as David would want to perpetuate the idea that it is that if you give them this yard, they'll take the next yard. Then they'll take the next yard. Then they'll take the next yard. And then something will happen, and all of a sudden people say, "Why don't you stop it at source?"
I'm watching it.
I didn't want to be mean-spirited.
I'm watching it on a wheel here, and he's so into himself. He's not goading anybody. This is the manager of Everton Football Club celebrating
waiting for his hip
a late goal. Do you know? And it's quite brilliant, really. To be honest, he's just caught in the moment. I don't think we should be punishing him for that.
But is there okay? So what do you want then? Do you want subjectivity? You want rules or not want rules? Because you don't like subjectivity, and now you do like subjectivity. Because the rule is you can't come out your technical area, not to celebrate, not to do the dance of the seven veils, not to pull a Mooney. You can't come out of your technical area.
Right? It's like punch.
So you come out of your technical area. You want the referees now to be subjective about it.
I'd say take the fourth official away completely. It's like a Punch and Judy show. If they weren't there, none of this would happen.
That's true. More often than not, they're signalling planes down with semaphore, aren't they?
Oh, God. Well, David didn't quite break into the dance of the seven veils. But
it's not Lord of the Dance, is it?
He got a booking.
It's not Michael Flatley, though, is it?
he got a booking for his trouble.
More like Douglas Bader.
And David, let me tell you, those dance classes have been a complete and utter waste of money.
Don't try a slide next time, Dave. He's got it in him.
Martin Keown, thank you so much for being with us.
Pleasure.
Brilliant to see you today, Martin. As for you, I'll catch you. You're not on transfer deadline day. Super show later on.
No, tragically not. But I will be listening in because I'm having trouble sleeping at the moment.
No problem. I shall return with Alex Crook and Danny Murphy at around 6:30, and we'll take you through the deadline at 7 and beyond. How lucky are you? It's 1 o'clock.
I'm doing this gig up a ski slope, end of season in Austria, and I'm with my dad, and we're travelling down to the gondola. It's a big gig, but we'll get up there in a gondola, and my security goes, "Maradona's here, and he wants to say hello to you." I'm like, "Maradona in Austria?" I'm like, "Yeah, get out of the car, and there's Maradona." And I don't speak Spanish. And, but we're very happy to see each other, and we have our pictures taken together, and we go up in the gondola, and my dad's like, "What's your life like, son?" I go, "It's amazing, isn't it? People like Maradona want to come and see me, And then 2 days later, I'm looking at the news on the Mac, and Maradona is at the Chelsea game. And that